Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to week 2 of the Overwatch World Cup APAC B qualifier. It's a long one to get through. My name is Matt Pixie Carroll. Joining me here, and indeed here physically, is Kevin Averill Walker, and not here physically is Domino. How are we doing this week, guys?
If I stayed still enough, I was like, maybe I could pretend to be a mannequin.
Just be a wax statue.
Yeah, you don't know. This could be a hologram. I need some sources to know, you gotta prove that I'm actually here.
Have you seen the wax statue of Mark Zuckerberg? It looks more like a real person than Mark Zuckerberg does. But anyway, it's the APAC group qualifier. Let's go ahead and take a look at the World Cup structure and whereabouts we are. You can see it's just down there at the bottom. APAC Group B, 6 teams in this group, 2 of which will qualify into those wider group stages where they will go up against teams from all around the world. And it's been a pretty, I'd say, exciting run of things so far. Not just in our qualifier, but across the whole lot of them. Everywhere.
Yep.
A lot of countries represented, which is always exciting. It's fun to kind of have this back, isn't it? We're
going to be closing things out, though.
We are.
Final week of qualifiers before we qualify some teams.
It's going to be that.
For sure, for real.
And then we go into the group stages where teams continue to qualify, but it's different.
Yeah, but that'll be way down the line.
Way down the line, yeah. Don't even think about that at this point in time. But let's go ahead and take a look at how things shook out on the last day of last week. We had 3 matches, New Zealand versus India, Australia versus Singapore, and Thailand versus Malaysia. And Domino, walk us through what we saw.
Yeah, so it was some very fast matches last week. 2-0 across the board from every team. India cleaning up against New Zealand. But as we're seeing just here, Colour Hex, which was actually play of the match, I believe, last week. He managed to hold the entire point, and it was a really well play by them. But unfortunately, as we did speculate last week, you can't have one strong player. Unfortunately, for the whole team, it's a whole team effort. So India did take that one against New Zealand. India, very strong team here in the qualifiers, and we actually think may be either first or second, and probably will qualify out here as well.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
Looking quite strong, of course, that India lineup, and then, of course, Australia versus Singapore. I think this was quite an expected result.
Probably. I think Singapore at this stage, they're a pretty known quantity, and unfortunately, they're just not going to be able to bring enough firepower to the table. Australia, they're the team that we had pegged as favourites early on. Definitely in a top 2 position. That race is getting a little bit tighter now, as we were mentioning India a little bit earlier. And at this stage as well, we'll see in the standings a little bit later, but Singapore, with that loss, are unfortunately mathematically out of contention for top 2. They can't qualify to the group stage. Malaysia is still roughly in there alongside with New Zealand, but they do have to win today. Thailand, though, I think this was a pretty expected result. Just like the Australia matchup versus Singapore, Thailand are cut above Malaysia.
Yeah, expected, and certainly still in contention for that top 3 here. Top 2, rather, is Thailand. You can see how the standings have shaken out so far. So as you mentioned, Singapore 0-3, officially mathematically eliminated, unfortunately, for them. India versus Australia is one of the matches we have up today. So right now, India are actually only above Australia because they have the 1 map differential. Yep. Australia dropped 1 map to Thailand. That is the only difference between these 2 teams. But obviously, as soon as they've actually gone head-to-head, doesn't matter anymore. And that will probably be a bit of a preview of the 2 teams that we're possibly going to see coming out of this group. I think if India take the win, India-Australia is probably the 2 qualifying teams, unless Thailand really go on a storm across the rest of this group.
India haven't been tested yet. The biggest thing is India last week, they played, New Zealand, and then they played, I believe it was Malaysia was the other match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So India haven't really been able to, I think they haven't gone up against the real competition in this group yet, so they look very strong. I think they're a clear favourite, but they go up against Australia and Thailand this week, and it's possible they could fall to either one, maybe both. If they fall to both, they're going to be out of contention for top 2, and then you would expect Thailand and Australia to make it through and qualify instead. So, but if they only beat one of them, we could actually create like a 3-way tie situation as well.
That's where that map differential could really actually click in India's favour.
Yeah.
As we were talking about.
Speaking of map differentials and tiebreakers, New Zealand and Malaysia are depending on that. The only way they can mathematically stay in and be in the top 2 is I think they get 3 and 2 apiece. Well, one of them would have to get it because the other one won't, because Malaysia, New Zealand play today, and one team's going to have to lose that. So that's why it's a must-win. But the winner of that if they can win the rest of the games in a 3-2 record, there's a possible tiebreaker in there somewhere, but it would have to go their way.
And there's going to be some really tough games for both of those teams, really, if they are to stay in contention. But looking across at what we have on the docket for today, as we mentioned, India versus Australia, a bit of a title bout for the day. Those top two teams on the leaderboard. Finally, one of them will have to take in L, followed by Malaysia versus New Zealand and Thailand versus Singapore. And Domino, I think we've got a pretty hot docket today.
Yeah, definitely. That India versus Australia game is probably the one I am the most looking forward to. I think it's going to be a very fantastic match. I reckon we might even make it to, map 3, those tiebreaker things. Both of these teams would have watched a lot of VODs from last week. They've probably watched each other's play styles. They're going into this both wanting to win. They want to be at the top of that leaderboard. As you've mentioned, Australia is down a map as well against India. So they do not want to lose any maps here. They want to be at the top there. So I think this is going to be the best fight we're going to see. And I think it's going to be a great match.
And of course, India's still currently boot camping. They're all in person. They're all currently playing in an internet cafe together, actually. So they've really been putting in the hard yards, and they already look good. We'll see what an extra week can do for this team. Speaking of which, let's take a look at Team India, Kevin.
Another week boot camping, and I think that should level them up a little bit further. In a lot of ways, this is the schedule that you want if you're Team India. You want to start off with some of the more simple teams that you should be able to beat, the teams that you'll be favored against, and as you're boot camping through, as you're practicing, as you're gearing up for the more difficult games, then you can start introducing Australia, Thailand into the mix when you have a little bit more time. You can see them here. Here's the footage. They're in Vancouver. They've already been there for over a week now with, last week's matches. And this is live by this is a live camera. They're in there. They got Nada, the coach, behind. You got the team staff, the committee, got the members playing. It's a very serious effort from teams. They're all doing this out of their own pocket as well, which I think is commendable.
Yeah, which is quite exciting as well, because obviously we haven't had a World Cup for a couple of years now. Last couple of times we saw an Indian squad. So quite mixed results, and I feel like that kind of sold them short. There's a lot of talent there, so it's nice to actually see them tapping into that a little bit, having a little bit of a better showing of things, or at least so far. Obviously, we need to see how things work out. Team Australia, Domino, I assume you know them all personally, so walk us through Team Australia.
Yes, that's exactly how it works in Australia. All Australians know each other, definitely. But no, they have a very strong lineup here. We've got Kuffer starting in as tank, and as many know, there's also Punk available as a sub as well. Kuffer and Punk both plenty of experience under their belt, and then you have really strong DPS, Nanda, Quinn, and then obviously Bertlog and Aki. And Bertlog is one of probably Australia's best support players at the moment. 7 wins under his belt, I believe it is, for contenders. I think if you look at his Wikipedia page, there's like 1 second place, but otherwise really strong team across the board. And I think they are going to be prepared for India. We saw India do a lot of really interesting plays last week, a lot of different plays, things we didn't expect. And I reckon Australia has been spending time thinking about how they're going to make sure they stop India from doing those different plays and forcing them back to the meta.
No doubt, and interesting to note, they're obviously starting with Kuffer in the lineup over Punk. Obviously, Punk having to play on ping, so there's a little bit of a trade-off there. Punk obviously being Overwatch League tier. So let's go ahead and take a look at the map selection. Obviously, we are once again a first to 2 format. This first map is preset. Loser will pick subsequent map, and for the second one there, we go into either an escort or hybrid, depending on what the team picks, followed by push. And if we really get that far down the thing, I believe we go back into a control.
Yeah. So. Punk, by the way, fun fact, also playing from Vancouver because he's on the Vancouver Titans, so he would actually have an even ping with the players in India, so he wouldn't be behind, he wouldn't even be disadvantaged in that. But happy to see Kuffer start out. It does say that they're leaning towards Winston compositions.
I suppose that was a very interesting fact.
Yes, and as you mentioned, we're heading over to Nepal. I am hoping we're going to see some Nanda Farah. I know that he's very strong with that character, but maybe we'll see some Echo instead. There's quite a few high grounds that maybe could be taken advantage of, but I'll be interested to see if Nanda will pull out the Farah here and force that. We know he's so strong with it, but India also might be prepared for that, and we might just not see him in the sky and having that high ground control at all. But I'm hoping for it.
And that's the very thing you make good mention of. India can very well have prepared here. You'll look at those particular niche picks. You'll look at things that particular players are known to run. And that is a particular one that Australia have in the pocket with Nanda now that they've seen him subbed in over Nami for this first map. They may well be expecting such a thing here. Any final thoughts before we go ahead into Nepal?
Yeah, Nanda is unlikely to be subbed out, I think, this entire... Unless we go to, like, Shambali and see Quinn and Nami together at the same time for that double hit scan look. Farah, very high chance. I give the weather report here. Pretty high chance of seeing Farah on the port. One of the, I think, reasonable maps for Farah to come through. And the interesting thing is, you look at Abs and Captain Prash on the backside for India. The support line, they come from Europe. They're playing the U scene. Pretty experienced, I think, versus a player like Yazan. They would have gone up against Yazan and Farah specialists already. So we'll be interested to see now how they come up against what I like to call like the Yazan of Australia, which is Nanda, who's very much a Farah specialist as well.
We'll see Domino on the other side. Forecast cloudy with a chance of justice. I'll have to see if Nanda goes ahead and flicks over that. Currently on the Torbjorn.
I think he's going to stay for this. So for this shrine, Kuffa's already coming through on a ram. They're going to TP in. No May, though, from Nanda is very interesting. It seems like it is just going to be the Tor. Maybe they were expecting to go into more of a dive look from India, possibly looking at, Akash being on the Winston instead. This might end up being a little bit of a weird matchup now for Nanda. We'll have to see. Iron Man has that wall advantage, which is very important in this mirror.
Yeah, Iron Man, Sojourn and May combo. Love a Torbjorn, though. Did I hear a Rock and Stone? And obviously mirroring on the Ramachas. Slightly different lineups across the whole thing here. Also seeing the Moira over the Baptiste for Australia.
Yep, and they're playing the Lucio Moira version, which means they want to rush in, but they're also kind of missing the Sombra look. Typically, we do see a lot of Sombra Reaper together here. Quinn would have been your Sombra play, which would have put Nanda on the Reaper. It's really Ice Blood forced out an Iron Man, by the way, so India's losing resources here.
Australia have been able to just kind of muscle their way onto the point, and that's really advantageous for them with that Torbjorn. They can just kind of set themselves up, knock the point down. It's really about how India are going to try to approach this. You can see Pummy snaking around the side, trying to catch those shots with the rail. Oh, Aki with the coalescence, no hesitation, and they've watched out Akash, Captain Prash soon to follow. And that's going to be the first fight going the way of Australia. Just ultimate difference there on Aki. Very well utilized.
Super quick coalescence. The game, the gameplay just got away from India here, where they took too long to find an angle in. The opening ice walls weren't really isolating anybody. They really want cover if possible, but Australia are really well stacked together. You're not just going to find a single player, and they weren't able to sort of break through, find any sort of picks. Pummy's rails wasn't able to really build up towards anything significant there to find an opening. And as soon as Aki or somebody has an ultimate, Australia going to have an advantage.
India now, speaking of ultimates, do get to come back in with a few of their own. Abs wasting no time. Throwing down the amplification matrix, just trying to force Australia back, give themselves a little bit of space to work with. You can see Covers backed away. There we go. The opening pick onto Bertlog as Pummy catches a body shot with that rail. Nanda getting frozen up. They do have to go Ice Cube there, does Iron Man, but Australia taking some big losses. Further ultimates invested for India using the Annihilation as well from Akash, but all things told, very clean fight from India.
I mean, if Australia want to back out and not fight into the window, everyone needs to be out of LOS. You can't have anybody really still looking in, peeking, especially not your Lucio player. Maybe Kuffa could do it if he wants to be able to take a bit of extra damage for Aki to build up another coalescence. Still is able to tank up a decent amount, but for everyone else, it's too dangerous. And for Pumming to just find that opening shot onto Bertlog, they're playing 4v5. Australia could have still looked towards ultimates, but chose not to put in the Molten Core. Thought like Molten Core would have been decent there. That also allows Nanda to maybe go back over towards the May. Now he's going to be brought into this ultimate for at least one extra fight.
It's going to be sound barrier very early from Bertlog there. Captain Prash kind of biding his time on that. The lean into the amplification matrix first, goes ahead with the sound barrier now as Akash needs it. And there we go, the damage finder coming out to dust off Kuffa and Quinn. Having to dig a little bit deep on the ultimates there was India. Australia did commit 3 of their own though. India a little bit drained dry for this next defense, but so far continuing to hold.
Yeah, really strong. That's the second call out from Aki as well. So Australia's been able to rotate a decent amount into ultimates, and this is, like I said, Nanda now finally gets to come out on May, but I would have liked to have seen that Molten Core the last fight, so he gets to play the May a little bit earlier. A little bit less awkward for Australia. Now they're starting to run a composition that's a lot more natural, a lot more standard for what you would see. Nanda doesn't really play Sombra though, so you're not going to see that version. One more window coming through from Abs. Not really usable by most players though.
Not in a great angle, and Kuffa going in with the Annihilation has already found Captain Prash. Good trade back though, fighting Quinn, who did have a Death Blossom available. Abs leading into the Immortality field, has to slip out of it. I think actually it might have run out. Kuffa just on a tear right now. Whew, nearly had all the kills attributed to just him, so great fighting from Australia. Evened up percentage there from India, trying to just drag it out to get as close to 90 as they can. Looking like final fight for potentially both of these teams.
You see the instant value from Australia coming coming through. Nana swaps over towards the main. The first Ice Wall in that fight blocks out the LOS, so pretty much everybody on Team India outside of Akash. And you could argue that Abs dropped down that window specifically for Akash to be able to punch through, because, well, that's just one of the unique sort of interactions that a Ram can do. In Nemesis Swarm, you can still get double damage, but yeah, Akash just cornered there, run down by 5 members.
And here we go. India don't really have much time to sort of feather onto the point and wait for ultimates, wait for cooldowns. They've just kind of got to get stuck into it. Akash has that annihilation. Quinn, though, the Death Blossom is a serious threat, but they found Nanda nice and early in the fight. Quinn looking to go in for it with this Death Blossom. Have they found enough? Army does go down. I think they managed to get enough defenses in place. The Blizzard helping slow things down there as well. Birdlog down and out for the count. Trying to pick up a few more kills now. Quinn still in the brawl. Hasn't got maximum value, and there we go. Drop down as well. Point still controlled by Australia right now. Yeah, extra sound barrier from Captain Prash. I don't know if that was necessary. Well, they'd already found, or they were about to finish off Aki, and they've got the point at least.
They wanted to secure it. They wanted to secure it because they were struggling to turn that fight around. They probably could have had it. This is a little extra. But they're looking for extra exit kills. It's forcing Nanda to Blizzard outside sport. Australia might not be able to touch.
Ooh, that might be a little bit of an overextension.
Go for it.
I liked what they were going for there. In theory, they were maybe trying to force the fight way away from the points that Australia couldn't even touch it. They ended up losing Akash. Now he's going to have to come back on a Doomfist. Ooh, Iron Man finding a critical catch onto Quinn. Luckily getting one with the overload. What am I trying to say? Overclock, there we go, Overwatch. Pummy got a kill off that, is what I really wanted to say, and India actually pick up our first map.
It's huge. Yeah, so they took some risks there. They did, spend a little bit extra on the end. Looked at the time remaining, was 90% plus. They're thinking, look, if we can get another exit frag here, play through the coalescence, rush into spawn, force out some extra resources, just make Team Australia get desperate, make them force an error out of them. And I think that actually did happen. Nana pulled through an extra Blizzard just to try and save his team and not have India just run into their spawn. Australia had to split up their team. Quinn went Tracer to go for the touch. Burlock eventually got there as well. Their team was just not able to actually find a team fight. This is with the Akash down. But the rest of Team India, as a 4-man, kept the point going, kept the defense going, killed the touches. Akash comes back on a Doom anyway. With both Nanda and Quinn down that fight, it was over. Now we get to see the fire.
Very brave play working out, and yeah, we'll have to see what the answer is for India to that fire. So, backing up to spawn.
Akash Diva maybe, or is he going to stay on to this? They're going to go at least a Sombra. Let's see how much further they want to go.
Yeah, Winston.
Okay, they're going to go at least Winston. So Lucio Moira, Winston is pretty decent. I think if you went the Diva, you'd probably then have to start thinking about Brigana. Maybe you change up a lot more of your composition, but all of those options were available. Winston Mirror, outside of the fact that the supports are quite different on DPS.
And getting Captain Prash in the early rotation. Guffer manually hacked out on the point, but not quite enough threatening damage here from India just yet, and they lose that extra bit of mobility and healing. Captain Prash may be able to get back with the team. Abs down now. So only Captain Prash to heal up, and I think he's only just going to be coming back to join the team now. You can see Akash taking a bit of a pummeling, does not have as many healers at his disposal as usual, so yeah, very late death on him as the point cap goes over to Australia.
This is the problem dealing with a proficient fire player. Instant frags coming on through. Long range as well. I mean, you just have a singular player down. Captain Prash is dead. Your rotation speed is slow now. India struggling to find targets to the ground. You're still playing a dive call. You still need to be able to drop down and actually dive on a target. And really, it's Aki who they need to go after. And he's hacked out for now. Aki could be in trouble.
Gets him low to the ground. Captain Prash able to slip away, avoid most of those rockets. Has himself a barrage available. There we go, straight to the point. Drops Iron Man, immediately confirms on Abs and Pummy as well. Very nicely done. Bit of a back cap from India in all of that. Loses his own life to his own rocket. Bit of a lark, but Australia will be able to recap the point here.
And the res wasn't blocked either, so Burlock knew Captain Prash was still there. The boop was available. Captain Prash, I think, was just going for the potential stall to, boop away Burlock, prevent the res, which would at least slow down Nanda. Not going to be the case. 37 plus now for Team Australia. India's still waiting for important ultimates. I mean, it's been slow for Abs, slow for Pummy. Very slow for Pummy with that death.
Yeah, Pulse Bomb as well, connecting onto Akash. Doesn't quite kill him, but brings him low enough to be killed quickly there after Iron Man now with his own Pulse Bomb. Not really getting much play here, India.
This is a lot of what the EU teams have to experience when they go up against Saudi Arabia. When Yuzan drops on the fire, this is very hard to beat if you're not prepared, if you don't have the counters, if you don't have the proficiency to shut Nanda out of the skies. I mean, it will require someone like Iron Man to at least at minimum go towards an Echo here. Pummy can realistically only go for the hacks onto Nanda, but that really hasn't happened either because he's mostly gone towards Aki, and they just haven't been able to dive on top of Aki.
Oh, once again, Captain Prash down early. This time it's not even Nanda, it's just Kuffer with a dive during the rotation, and now A Cash in trouble as to pop a Primal Rage, going to be eating a lot of damage, and Slept as well. Real heartbreaker. They do at least find Bertlog, but losing far more than they're gaining. Okay, another one. That's both supports out of the picture currently. India are able to catch the Cap in the middle of all the chaos. A lot of damage coming across onto a Cash. A little bit more than he bargained for, I think, with the one healer already dead, thanks to Cuffer. Cap does come through. It's Australia trying to take it back. So this gives India a little bit of breathing room, given that we're approaching final fight, but with these late deaths and Australia re-grabbing the point, that might be all she wrote for India. They're going in for it with an EMP. Pummy only finds Quinn with it, though. They just have to do something. Coalescence currently running out from Abs. Bertlog feeling a bit of a hurt log. Is he going to be able to get away with that? I don't think so.
Okay, that's opportunity now for Team India. Quinn was solo EMP'd. I mean, that's a very expensive way for Pummy to begin this fight, and well, they sort of capitalize off the fact that they can convert onto Bertlog as well. Can they get further than this? Aki in a little bit of trouble here. It's Cuffer hacked out, though. And Australia fully backed out. So India confirmed the point, rescued it at the 99% mark, and that was the first time we saw a bunch of ultimates as well. First EMP out of India, first call inside of India as well.
Well, now that they've got control of the point, they can maybe have a slightly easier time keeping control of Nanda. Ooh, Quinn in that duel there. Speaking of which, Nanda manually hacked out, but not in too much trouble. Quinn just fishing for something with his pulse bomb. Captain Prash down again. Cannot catch a break, that poor guy, and now Iron Man Abs as well. Australia just finally pick up the pick here. India looking a little bit headless in that entire passage of play. Not a lot of cohesion between them. 99% already for Australia as they re-grab. I don't know if India are really going to get another shot at this. Pummy's barely, not even going to be able to touch, and a Cash can't quite get there either.
And even if a Cash did touch, he was on no HP. He's instantly dead as soon as he touches this, as we can see there. And into the map, so it's a difficult run through, and Team India's first major hurdle here is to discover what it feels like to go up against, again, a very specialized player on a very specialized hero, and they need to quickly in this series figure out a solution, because this can and will continue. I mean, part of the solution is if India loses this map and they get choice of next map, they have what, like 6 different maps they can choose from, of which there's plenty of options to play against Safari. It goes something like Circuit Royale. There's no way Nanda plays Safari there, so there's that. But then you have to think about map 3. You have to think about the fact that Australia has map choice there. Coliseo is like mildly friendly towards Safari. In any case, Australia are going to change composition. So if India wanted to counter it this round, they would have invaded. They've stuck to their guns. They want to play ball again.
Cuffer rolling out on an Orisa, interestingly.
Yeah. Cuffer's, I think, we've seen a tiny bit of Orisa, and it does sometimes come through specifically on a Sanctum map. So Australia are opting into the brawl. But it's the Lucia Moira version that we saw on Shrine as well, just, again, different tanks.
A lot of this is going to come down to ultimates. Aki on the Moira. We've seen early coalescences be very fight-defining. We saw that back on Shrine. Just taking their time, kind of firing along across this
It's
point.
open, though. India's capping.
They have the rotation to it, so Australia are going to need to do something about it. They're separating the team out here. Pummy's still on the point, capturing it. The rest of India managing to hold down the fort. Captain Prash just ducking and weaving and ducking as Quinn's already gone down. Iron Man feeling a little bit cold about things, but this fight has not really gone the way of Australia. They finally pick up a couple of kills. They lose Cuffer in the process. Iron Man going down is a really important one. Nanda staying alive. A Cash, though, will be able to dust off Nanda and Bertlog down as well. They've still got control of the point, by the way, India, and now rotating back to it. Australia trying to back cap, but no such luck.
I see what Australia's game plan was there. Okay, they don't bother going for the point. They knew Pummy was capping. They're saying we can maybe play this like 5 versus 4. Pummy now slides off the map. Sadly, no jump at the end of that slide.
Yeah, big unforced error there.
Well, they do trade one back. This is not awful.
Yeah, it's a really important fight on Aki, who did have the coalescence, but they lost the point, unfortunately, in the whole passage of play there. And they still need to actually deal with the rest of this fight. Fighting Abs, Australia looking in decent shape and just keeping this fight away from the point itself. Cuffer finally going down, but a Cash was in that brawl for so long. It forces out a Blizzard from Nanda. They found the tank for it in Australia, collecting even more kills. Honestly, if Pummy hadn't gone down right at the start there, that probably would have been a bit of a wash from India getting that kill onto Aki.
Yeah, I mean, it depends as well in terms of Australia's rotations. Australia rotating towards this sort of side room, forced Pummy to slide away, and Pummy slid to his death, and then you lock the rest of India on coast side and nowhere else to run. Blizzard to lock them through. Very competitive final round here for Nepal. Australia hold a lot of ultimates, though. One of them will come through.
Okay, it's going to be Blizzard thrown out here from Iron Man on the defensive, but it got eaten up.
Wow.
Very nicely done, Cuffer. No more Immortality Field either. Australia Putting on a lot of pressure. India have gone in deep with their ultimate usage. Now, both support ultimates used, but Abs and Pummy still picked off. They've only found Nanda so far. Do at least force out the sound barrier from Bertlog as well. So Australia a little bit leaner on ultimates as well after all this, but it's looking like a late death to come through on a cash note. Forces Quinn away and late death on Bertlog instead.
Well, Bertlog will be able to come back pretty quickly as a Lucio player, but India's solution here to at least the Orisa is to match with their own Orisa. Kash is kind of fed up with the Ramacha gameplay into this mirror. India have largely kind of struggled up against the, I think, trump cards and the extra picks that Australia are coming through with. We're heading to final fight now.
Yeah, Pummy at least has that overclock. Damage coming through onto Aki. Pummy taking a bit of a brief stop, otherwise fine. As ultimate now available for Akash. They don't really have any play-ons, any actual members here. There we go, great pick off onto Aki Nanda as well. Just destroyed on the point. India will be able to catch this cap. God, those are two very similar words.
Kuffer gets out alive, importantly there as well, so no delay on Kuffer's life. Good spare into Kash to be able to exit. Australia losing out on being able to just finish the map then and there, as it was the snipe from Pummy, the ult from Akash, but they've run out now. Okay, we've got sound barrier coming on through. Australia really start to move up towards important game-winning ultimates. That's a huge kill from Pummy because that will slow down Australia. Might actually force Australia to reset, and given Australia resetting here, if they do, Nanda's locked out. He has to ice block.
Yeah, you see Cuff on the wrong side of this as well.
India's catch-up goals.
Back. This is, yeah, such an important break moment for India there, as you mentioned, Quinn getting picked off.
Because Iron Man's behind of Nanda. Nanda's got the Blizzard. Iron Man needs it to be able to counter through as well. But Captain Price finds a sound barrier, which will be important in the ultimate trades, in the Blizzard trade for sure.
Coalescence straight down the whole team. India trying to rotate backwards, not able to get out in time. The Blizzard there, 99% for Australia. So pretty much as soon as they get this regrab, it's going to be all over. And Iron Man threw down his ultimate and died. I don't even think it finished channeling, as you say, just the cash now. A little bit too devastating a wipe there for India. Nearly managing to recover that whole situation. But I have to say, and not to overemphasize it, but bring it back to that one fight where they didn't have Pummy. That was the moment where they lost control of the point. They were otherwise well poised to pull out a pretty significant lead, and just didn't quite have things fall their way.
I think they also were suffering up against what mostly I consider to be a stronger May game from Nanda here as well. This was the map winning for the entire map, now that we can tell Blizzard coming on through straight to the back lines, and yeah, they just caught everyone on the backside. You can see they ran past Akash as well. Akash is still in that midsection. He's looking at everyone running past him, including Aki with the Coalescence, who didn't even care. They just wanted that backline. They found and froze the backline up. That final fight's the one that really counts as well. So they had a really strong lead there with the Orisa gameplay. I think the Orisa did throw off Team India, and I think the Fire also threw off Team India. So it's the slightly off-meta picks that are currently making it difficult for India.
Not the hottest start for India, unfortunately, but I mean, Domino, what's the thoughts of the nation? How's Australia feeling right now? Smug, I imagine?
Definitely. Obviously, that's a huge win here for Australia. You know, first map, but they will obviously have to go against India picking the second map, and India's probably going to pick a map that's going to work in their favour, not in Australia's favour. It's not going to have the high grounds. It's not going to have something, hopefully, where Nanda can pull out the Farah again. To echo Avril as well, I was a bit surprised by the Orisa picks there. Like, I'm surprised always when teams pick Orisa when Ramacha is available. He's obviously quite a stronger tank, but so I was surprised by that as well. But Australia seem to be picking their comfort picks, picking what they know they're good at and that they can do. So Nanda on the Farah, Kuffer there on the Orisa, like, it's working for them. However, in saying that, I think India obviously made some mistakes, which sure they're aware of, like Pummy falling off the middle there. That was not good for them, and they're going to know it. They know that they made some errors there, but I'm sure they'll come in just as much stronger into the second one.
And ultimately still a fairly close affair as well. With that, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a breather. We'll see what India choose to pick and whether they can start to turn this series back around, or whether we're just going to have another collection of a 2-0. We'll be right back.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back. Hot stuff. Yes, I'm talking about you, Sam, in particular. Thank you very much for joining us. We are 1-0 up, Australia versus India, and not totally unexpected, I will say, but still, India not having the start to their match rather, that they want, and obviously they do now get the next map pick, so we are waiting with bated breath to see what they actually go ahead and select.
And you'll have to wait a little bit longer. Let's talk a little bit about the shrine opening as well, because this was where India was able to lock it through. Part of this was due to the fact that I think Nanda started on the wrong hero. He was on the Torb right, and that's the kind of hero you'd bring to the table if you expect India to begin on something like a Winston lineup instead. Eventually Nanda did swap over towards the May at the end, but comes a little bit late. Australia then got staggered for the last fight, and India looked reasonably strong on shrine. It was the rest of the 2 rounds here where, again, to repeat myself, I think the sort of off-meta comps caught India off guard. They specifically did not know how to play up against this Farah, and that was a huge problem, and that means that now into map number 2, they need to make sure they stay away from any Farah maps.
And Domino, we'll see Sanctum in a second. You had some particular thoughts about how that went, or indeed didn't go for India.
Yeah, I think it was a really strong rollout for India on Sanctum. They were going against Australia, who, as Avril has mentioned, have unusual comps and not maybe what we're expected to. So Australia rolled out in this brawly comp. They had to close that gap against India. They had to get on top of them. But then India had someone like Pummy sitting on the side, although we did just see Pummy, unfortunately, slide off the map there, which was not their favourite at all, but having Pummy off to the side, being able to get those picks really worked out for them. But then Australia changed Quinn over to Tracer and just shut Pummy down. So Australia has done really well in, I guess, the chess matchup here and countering anything India is pulling out at them, where India seems to be struggling a little bit more, where they're not able to play the chess matchup and counter back against them. So I'll be interested to see what their map selection will be and whether it's going to favor this Farah choice and these unusual picks, or whether it's going to favor what India knows.
We'll start your mental drum rolls. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what that map is. And obviously you would have seen there. All right, here we go. We're going to Shambali. So just straight back into
dangerous.
Straight back into the same country. It is in Nepal, isn't it? The monastery?
Yeah, it's actually, so I think lore-wise on the other side of the Nepal
like the
map.
same
But in any case, this is a dangerous pick because the problem is if Nanda wants to force it, Farah is playable here. Super playable. And he's still in the lineup because Quinn he's been swapped out for Nami, which is pretty standard for this map. Punk also comes in. And that's, I believe, mostly just going to be due to the fact that it's a Ramatra gameplay for Shambali. Now, I think with Team India, if you want to go and play more Ramatra mirrors, this is a great place to be able to go to. Maybe they don't want to really look at Widowmakers on a map like Circuit Royale. Nami's definitely got to play the Widowmaker. We've seen, you know, Pummy and Co, and even this, whether it's Iron Man or Matrix being subbed in, they're not really willing to play the Widowmaker on Circuit Royale. That could be a bit of an issue, so I'm going to stay away from that map. I think there are other maps that you could potentially go to, but Shambali, I have personal experience having casted Nano on Ground Zero. He's not shying. He doesn't shy away from playing Fire on this map. You can play it here.
We'll have to see if he actually pulls that out.
I think this is a really smart choice because neither team played Shambali Monastery last week. So we haven't seen either team play on this. So either team hasn't been able to go back and watch VODs. They haven't been able to see what each other's going to roll out. If they think that the Farah is going to come, they're prepared for that. But Australia has not watched India play on this map. And vice versa. So I actually think this could be quite smart.
I don't know there's much that India can really pull through here in terms of like really off-meta stuff. I think the Farah is already off-meta enough. And well, they didn't show too much promise versus the Farah on map 1. They'd have to show it now if the Farah does come through.
Well, let's go ahead and jump on in. Thank you very much, Dominic. We'll see you on the other side. Shambali Monastery. This is actually personally my first time covering this map.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
Funny enough, yeah. So I'm kind of excited for that.
Everyone?
Yeah, kind of excited for that. And the other thing I'm excited for is this Macca's shout out. Quick shout out, of course, to Macca's. You can't keep a legend out of the lineup. The Mick Feast is back.
So Shambali finally, as we have seen, how many was it? 6 Circuit Royales, I believe, so far in the qualifier. That was all in week 1. Out of 7 map choices on map 2, 6 circuits and 1 Numbani. Something like that.
Yeah.
So
predominantly Circuit Royale.
There we go. There could have been a timeline where you just entirely dodged Shambali.
Yeah. I'm kind of excited. I've seen it, obviously, but I haven't been able to actually cover it. And so beautiful.
Another map that's fairly difficult to finish, so see how these teams go in that regard. India will be playing fairly standard here. It's the Soja and May combination. Run back on further. Ram compositions, more brawl. Choice here is going to be the spawn camp. Australia wants to recognize the spawn camp. I think Nami stays on the Hanzo here, actually really good at playing the off angles on the spawn camp.
Yeah, and here we go, just rolling out very quick into the brawl. Nanda a little bit cold, a little bit surrounded, but it's Iron Man who's really taking the majority of the beating. Nami, as you said, on the off angle. There we go, already finding Iron Man's this early spawn camp. Not quite working out for India. If they can maybe pick up a kill here, they could turn things back around, but not in great shape. Akash getting a little bit on the low side. No more Immortality Field available, unfortunately. Is on cooldown. Abs now dropped as well. That'll be a clean start here for Australia, getting out the base and underway.
Yep, one last player left to go through, and unfortunately it's a bit of a self-stagger, as Nami already takes the payload away. So the early gamble for the spawn camp doesn't really work out too well for India. You'd like to get more than 1 minute out of the defense, or rather the attacking side. You want to make sure that we're below 3 minutes for Australia to actually start pushing the payload. Spawn camp, I think, roughly only shaved off about 35 seconds, which is a little bit below par. India want a bit more out of that. And we start heading to fight 2 and beyond. It's Aki with the first ultimate, I believe.
Ooh, Iron Man picked off again, first to die in the fight. Australia leaning into their Immortality Field, going to keep those members just fine. Aki has the ultimate available, might not need to use it just yet. No kills coming across from India. Not even really stalling up the payload a whole lot here as Akash goes aggressive with the Annihilation. Trying to get around to the cart, and the fight's completely topsy-turvy. Australia are at least slowed up a little bit, but still technically moving as they clean up the entirety of the Indian squad. Secure the cap, yeah.
Iron Man's the last one alive, quickly taken down. A lot of this comes down to first ultimate difference as well. Aki pulls to the window quite early. Yeah, Akash does have the Annihilation as well, but Team Australia, they stack up together. You saw when Akash dies, it's like all 5 members that contributed towards that kill. Some of the window damage does come through as well, and India struggled to be able to keep Akash alive. And if Akash was able to stay up longer, maybe they actually fight through the window being dropped by Aki. At least at minimum, they're forced 3 extra ultimates from Team Australia, but ends up being very cheap, and beyond that, they got an extra ultimate out of Akash, which makes things super good for Australia.
Yeah, not able to particularly slow down the cart either during these fights, so you see a lot of time on the clock here. Already halfway through this stretch of push.
Dragon Strike is great here, by the way, as well.
Just straight down narrow corridor. Blizzard going to be thrown out. Oh, Dragon Strike directly on top. You can see Akash has been caught out in it. And there we go. As soon as the Immortality Field is gone, so is Akash. Nice catch onto Captain Fresh as well. And India are just absolutely routed here. Completely split up, all these members. And they are actually still in the cart this time. Iron Man just kind of throwing his body on it. Will lose his life for that. Not a great slowdown, all things considered. And Australia just kind of enjoying some free push.
It might be enough of a slowdown, though, because Pressure's on 99%. Akash is back. He'll go for the initial touch. And then they can extend this onto the sound barrier. But the touch has to happen now.
Nope.
The wall's going to block it out.
Nope.
Akash will give up straight away. I think maybe you can see Iron Man all the way back. Iron Man was too far behind, so India didn't want to go as far.
Yeah, 2 later death, and they didn't quite have everyone back in the mix, didn't want to commit, and they've had enough troublesome fights. I don't think they wanted to use the fuel tools they had in a potentially losing situation. Pumming already taking an absolute beating, able to pull back to the Immortality Field. Akash throws down once again. Captain Pressure's not committed the sound barrier. Burlock used his. Captain Pressure's held on, and that's with Pumming using an ultimate as well, still super low. I mean, at this point, they need to either commit some ultimates or just back out.
Oh, he's Ajax.
Oh, devastating. Gets cancelled out. Oh, that was an absolute heartbreaker for India. Really non-committal, and it ends up costing them dearly.
It's costing them huge, because they got team wipe there. They lose another ultimate, in fact, maybe multiple, because Pumming was ulting at some point as well. And now Australia marching this payload to the end, and they got tons of time. Look at that. More than 421 is what they had. Look, they've run out of ultimates, and India will have to play the Blizzard now.
It's the only thing they've got on the docket, and they've got the cart at least very targetable, shall we say, with that Blizzard. Iron Man already having to go popsicle about it. Does not catch anyone with the Blizzard, unfortunately. Australia just waiting it out, now looking to approach. They'll have a Dragon Strike, make a bit of space for themselves with that. Here we go, Nami committing that one out. Akash taking a bit of a beating, has the Annihilation running. He's already super low. Look at that, gets finished off anyway. Immortality Field does get finished off, but at that point, Australia 2 kills up, largely uncontested here.
Cleared.
And absolutely brutal time on the board for Australia.
Like, you might not have cast this map before, but I can tell you 342 is an insane time. That is a lot of time on this map. A map that I said before we even came in was going to be like a difficult map to cap. And that's true, because most times I've seen this map played, especially on, any of the most recent matches where Ram, Brawl, Rush, Mirror is the ideal composition to play. So I think in the Sigma meta, this was like a far easier map to cap, but now that we've entered full Ram meta for this map, a lot of teams don't finish. A lot of teams get caught up on B, especially the fact that Australia got through B seamlessly is the biggest issue for India. Because C is an easier point than B. A is debatably easier than B as well. B for this matchup is where most teams fail, and India just, they got heavily snowballed in that phase of the game. Australia had 4 ultimates still about to roll through, payload at good pace, and they were just able to dub ultimates in, Dragon Strike into Blizzard, Akash caught in the Blizzard, late death on the DPSs, especially onto the, onto Iron Man as well, where it's got to be slower for a May, and then India wasn't able to, despite, I think, the well-decided choice of Captain Prash to go for a bit of Storm the payload, wasn't long enough, sadly, to allow India to regroup together for a final contest on B. And they went for an early contest on the C, which I personally don't agree with. I think early contests on C are not that strong. I'd rather they just throw ultimates, your 4v5. Yeah, play the 4v5. Use the sound barrier. Force the sound barrier to Burlong. At least both teams are going to have to spend for that. Australia definitely got to spend because they can't afford to lose their fight. They got a cap. So I think you'd rather just lose at the end of B, force ultimates, and then play C afterwards.
The entire rhythm of India just kind of fell off on that defense. We'll have to see if they can get their groove back on the offense. Ice Wall forcing Australia back to start with does at least get them a bit of payload movement. So no super early spawn camp here from Australia, just getting muscled back bit by bit. We'll have to see what the first casualty ends up being, and it's going to be Nami caught up on the side. Nanda dropped down as well pretty quickly thereafter, and that'll be Australia removed handily from the card.
Yeah, as soon as Australia started backing out, losing the corner, Nami can't afford to just chill on the off angle. Maybe if he wasn't spotted at all, but he's not playing like someone that has real one-shot potential. He had to build up for rails, and there's no way you can just sneak up on someone in India and rail them. It's just not possible. So Nami, unfortunately, is just going to cop an early death there. Not Punk. The rest of Australia would have likely have been fine if they all pulled back together as a 5 and just play the longer sight lines. India now pushing up ramp, which ramp is typically a good place to defend, but Australia don't have positioning.
Trying to get into it now, but sort of missed their window. Speaking of which, ultimate's nearly available.
Yeah, Abs and Aki. Coalition's first, I think.
Yep. Very quick commit there from India, trying to leverage that one. Punk's going aggressive. They've got the immortality field down, got the annihilation running, and they find Nanda out though. Akash getting aggressive in his own right. Sound barrier to keep the team nice and toasty as they collect Punk, Bertlog, and Nami.
Wow.
That'll be the cat coming across. Pretty good time.
And it's expensive for Australia because they use 2 ultimates there as well, including the annihilation for Punk. So it's almost like the exact same scenario flipped where Akash used and died with the annihilation and their 8-point defense, and the cap came through anyway. Here, it's Punk on Australia's 8-point defense that ends up using through the annihilation to not a lot of results, but on top of that, they also lost the window. India spends more because they had to spend 2, but Australia also spending 2 means we're matched at parity. But India win the fight, they push on through, they're in a better spot. And they have 3 ultimates still.
This is about the same amount of time as Australia were pulling as they were passing through B as well, and already about halfway through. No immortality field here for Australia, has already gone. Just trying to get aggressive here is Pummy right to the back.
Pummy might
This is the rail shot. Whoa! In so deep, has Abs in his back, getting right on top of Nami. It pays off, losing Akash. Bit of a tough break. They forced out a sound barrier. Akash going down though, unfortunately, with that annihilation running. Pummy though, just keeping the team on his back as much as he can. Bertlog has something to say about it. Can't quite go for that health back. Has Punk up in his grill. That was very aggressive from India. Sadly, not paying off.
I mean, Pummy, it almost paid off. He just needed to be able to. He did miss one rail, but he eventually matches up and gets a couple of frags in there. The issue is India overcommitting to saving Pummy. A lot of players then were going on the high ground. Akash has then caught out solo on the payload, I believe. I don't think he was one of the players that went up there. And Australia just cut their losses. Okay, we don't have to just all focus down Pummy here, and we can just go for the actual tank line. Akash is vulnerable. He ults, but not going to be strong enough, sadly.
Iron Man. He's been able to sneak up. They have not noticed him here. Going to deploy Blizzard directly on top of Australia. Very nicely placed. Losing his own life for immediately, though. And that's going to take off a lot of their potential damage output. We're not able to kill off Punk, who was otherwise frozen up and largely vulnerable. Struggling to get that payload a little bit further up. Now, Cash burned down. So much damage out. Just the freeze beam across the storm arrows as well. That's going to be another big beat for India.
And this is what I'm talking about, right? B is quite difficult to push into. These caves, a lot of teams will falter in here. India might meet the same fate Akash is going over towards the Doom. They've given up on the Ram comp entirely. This is still a comp where you can play quite quickly, but I'm not really sure if I kind of feel the Doom here. Very easy for Nanda to still just block out with the wall. Australia, okay, Punk's disconnected. That's rough. Punk was on like 80, high 80s for the annihilation. They're going to lose that ultimate.
Big ouch.
That's a huge ultimate to lose at this stage. So The Australian internet gods punishing Punk there, and well, they'll be helping out Team India, it seems.
It's funny that
Bit of favour for Team India.
This is the one guy who's not actually in Australia.
That's true.
Classic.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, Australian
How
internet
ironic.
is that potent. It can
They will find one Australian guy in Vancouver, and shut him down.
and just like get him.
Wow, crazy.
Maybe it's. I mean, as you mentioned, he is in Vancouver, the same place that India is right now. So I was just
some Team India agents.
I was gonna say, I'm just counting the all 5 that are still there that nobody's. What if just out of shot Punk is sat in the same internet
That
cafe?
would be crazy.
That'd be
I would have
funny.
some questions for the Luminosity org in terms of why Punk is not in the team facility for.
You really would wonder. You really would.
No, that's pretty. I think Punk also has to run back from sport. Oh, they're in a.
Yeah.
That's actually extremely rough. He is effectively going to be dead for the next fight, instantly respawning, but like dead in terms of positioning with his ultimate reset.
Yeah.
It's about as bad as you got, and that's your tank player down as well.
Let's also just mention, we don't know the cause of the disconnect. It does sound like we're going to be back in game, but I was going to say we don't know the cause of the disconnect, so if it's something major like a power outage, where he isn't going to be able to resolve it quickly, that would be the most devastating in a ridiculous way. But he is back in. We are back underway. Does have to take all that loss of all charge and walk back from
the payload is going to freely push potentially into the open.
Yeah. Which is right where they want India, forcing a fight before Punk can quite get back with the team. Akash on that Doomfist, and here we go. You got Punk in the mix now, but Nanda already down and out for the count. Nice shot across onto Nami. Pummy really feeling himself down the Sojourn. With no mortality field in place, he can dust off Punk as well. Trying his own life for it, but the damage has long since been done.
Look at that.
It'll be hard to get a similar time as what Australia got here, obviously, on point C, but still, cap in sight.
Look, I don't know, dude. If there is a god, India definitely prayed to it right there. It's imagine Punk being punished by internet. That's a straight up internet differential that came through there. Australia massively punished by pure RNG. That's all that was, because Punk was nearly on annihilation. Australia in good position to defend, and being outtaken, India given a shot, a chance.
Very unfortunate. Oh, nice catch onto Pummy. Slows down India in a big way, and they are fully left running for the hills.
Gosh, nearly got caught behind a wall there. That would have been pretty staggering. I don't know that the Doom composition has enough stability to make it towards the end of the map. I think it's fine for like a one and done. You push through B. Punk wasn't there, whatever. Cash can get a lot done. But now that we're on to see what sort of longevity does this comp really have? Can you really brawl through? Eventually, Punk catches up, gets his annihilation again. Australia can play this choke for quite a reasonable while.
Oof, Akash has to go in for a meteor strike, has to decide whether to use it defensively or aggressively, trying to wait out Nanda. No such luck. Nanda was still in that ice cube for long enough, but does die to a body. Ray shot, but dealt with the immortality field. Aki, sound barrier in his back. Akash and Iron Man both down, a 2 for 2 so far. Or 1 for 2 rather, Pug.
Oh, he lived!
Oh, survives. The double healers there, and with Pummy down now, not enough damage left in the tank. 2 minutes on the clock. We'll see if India want to make some changes.
Oh, I have to think about it. Not on the back line. Avs and Prash are on ultimates, so that's not going to change for now. Just so much slowdown. I mean, India are kind of lucky in the fact that because we're on an escort, there's not going to be a draw-only scenario, but there's been major slowdowns here. B was a major slowdown. C, at the beginning of C, is now a major slowdown for India. Australia, they can just bleed the entire timer down. It could be that India don't cap until the OT if they cap at all.
This is a winning scenario for Australia right now. Bertlog down early though as Abs washes him with the Coalescence. Pug down as well, so this will be India finally getting back underway, getting back in control of the cap.
Big last kill.
The cap is on the docket for them, a minute 25. Australia, they could yet hold out though, and that would be a series win for them.
Well, this is where now the ultimates that we were waiting for does come through. Pretty strong as well. Punk on the annihilation after disconnecting earlier on. Prash is ready for that one with the sound barrier. He wants to hold it.
All right, very early on in the fight, but that's Punk using the Annihilation, Nami using the Overclock as well. Pummy has his own running. What can he find? Trying to go dueling with Nami. No, loses his life. Aki's got him. A lot of low members on Australia here, but critically not there. To catch, dusted off as well. And with that, India going to have to walk away. Tail between the legs on this one. Not quite getting the cap across, but just enough time for one last go around.
But they really lack resources now. I think that sound barrier did enough. That did as much as it could really do. I mean, it kind of got double valued. There was a little bit of layering of ultimates. Overclock came through. Annihilation didn't take too long afterwards. And well, sound barrier roughly covered at least the start of the Annihilation. Punk got low HP there, so he didn't even get maximum value out of his ult. Iron Man now changed over towards Genji, so we're slowly moving over towards more of a dive composition for India and away from the Brawl Mirror.
Well, they're going to be able to accomplish just under 20 seconds on the clock. Akash has to go in for it. Not quite getting the early conversions that they need. Nanda low, but Akash can't quite collect it. Has to go for a meteor strike. Sound barrier is there for Australia. Where's Akash going to reposition to? Wasn't able to go for Nanda once again. A little bit low, bumping it back. Need to start getting to the cart. Blizzard down from Nanda, zoning them away. Akash is frozen, crashes down. And there we go. 3 members dead for India. No response, no kills in return. And that's the defense. That's the hold that Australia were looking for. Even with Punk disconnecting in a critical moment, Australia smooth 2-0 despite India's challenge.
And this was, again, a dangerous map for India to go to, not for the exact reason I outlined. I said that perhaps the Farah could still come through, and it has shown that in the past for a map like Shambali. But this was just a clean Ram mirror, I think. For Australia, no gimmicks at all. Came through and said, we can just beat you in the mirror if required. I think the Hanzo choice is much stronger than the Sojourn choice here overall, especially when we look towards caves. The Sojourn pick does slightly improve once we get out of the maps and we go over towards the C point, which is where Nami then made the swap happen. But it was the early unfortunate spawn camp failure that only roughly shaved down 35 seconds, not really enough, and they kind of lost spawn camp quite quickly, was India. But beyond that, they got snowballed heavily. A was a complete wash. They lost Annihilation there. B was a complete wash. Huge amount of snowball. And then C was, I don't even think there was any slowdown. I don't believe Australia lost a single fight on even C point because they backed out from the Blizzard, but then just re-entered straight away and won.
Really, really smooth across the board on that entire side. That was India's pick as well. Really, really impressive stuff that we just saw, Domino. Is the national pride is the fire in the chest right now?
Oh, yes, I'm very thrilled. I was almost wanting to get up out of my chair and just be like, yes, but then I realized no one would see me on camera and my head would be too far up. And so I was like, I better stay seated. But I would like to reiterate what Avril said. I agree. I think the Hanzo pick is a bit stronger here. You can get some really great angles. You can kind of just shoot trees down at the team on an angle and, it can work very well. You have a very, if you can get those headshots, it just really opens up those team fights. And Australia, as he said as well, Australia did snowball a little bit and they did really well bringing it back together, even when they had the disconnect with Punk there. Obviously losing a tank, especially when you only have one tank now in the game, that, it's very important for the tank to be there. But I feel like Australians are very familiar with disconnects. They've played with these things. They're aware of this. And I think they would have probably pulled back a little bit, made sure they taxied Punk back with the Lucio as fast as possible just to get back into that fight. And so well done to Australia there for holding on.
I think it says a lot when Australia can still sort of recover from the disconnect. They lose a whole point off that. I think they even lose a lot of early pressure on C for it. But eventually, they consolidate on C, they hold C, and that's fine. We've got a huge time bank. And at minimum, even if they cap through this map, we're going to just kind of have the massive time bank advantage to play through for the actual next phase of the game. And they recovered and won the map and didn't even allow the full the capture to come through. So that was huge from Australia. It seems like Team India, they got one sort of extra lifeline there. You rubbed the genie's lamp, but this genie only gave one wish.
Well, let's go ahead and catch up with Kuffer to see how he feels about this this fantastic win. Kuffer, congratulations. I'll start off with a quick, easy softball question. This is the classic sports interview. How are the boys feeling right now?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, we've pretty much guaranteed our way to America now, so that's good. Chill. Exciting.
Yeah, I'll check in with you about where the team is looking towards in terms of your playtime versus Punk's playtime. I think in the opening week, Punk played a little bit more. You sort of only came in towards the end of week 1. You started to play today. You came up for Nepal, and then Punk obviously comes in to play the Ram. So I don't know if ping plays a bit of a factor in there in terms of choosing, or is it more just match dependent for comps? How's the team handling the substitution between you and Punk at the moment?
It's more map dependent for comps. So maps when we play Monkey mainly is the maps that I'm going to play, and Orisa. And then Ram comps, he'll play Diva comps, Sig comps. So yeah, I'm mainly just Monkey and Orisa right now. And we had this lined up what we're going to play on Nepal. So Orisa comp one map, Monkey comp one map, one map Ram. So it just made sense to put me in for this one. And Ilios last week, we played Diva, so Punk played that game. And then the Legion game, I played as well because we played a bit Monkey there. So yeah, it's mainly just me for Monkey, and then he plays the rest.
Yeah. Kuffer, I wanted to ask, you've had probably your two toughest matchups so far, Thailand last week, India this week. So is the team feeling pretty comfortable now? Is there any other teams that you're like going, nope, you know, we've got to make sure we're really switched on for that? Or is it everyone kind of relaxing a little bit more because the hardest two are probably under your belt?
I mean, we don't want to put the foot off the gas, but like it's looking good. Like we should qualify. It would be India and Thailand. It'll be fun to versus New Zealand. I feel a bit bad for what I said on the broadcast last time. I didn't really mean it to go that far. But yeah, it was a good series today. A lot of Ajaxes.
Just the one, but one is enough. You know, one is too many.
No, there was three. There was three.
Three?
Three?
How many?
Yeah.
How many more times? Wait, who else Ajaxed?
Were we watching this game?
I missed. Did I miss two?
Captain Prash, he Ajaxed 3 times in that series.
Really? I
no.
called
Once on Shambali, once on Nepal Sanctum with the Blizzard, and then once
I
on
missed that one.
Right.
once on Village or Skyrise, the one where we played Farah. So yeah, 3 times in the series.
Okay, there it is.
Devastating.
In 2 maps.
Wow.
Devastating. Now
Two
that
of them even got.
Yeah.
We didn't see.
even notice.
We didn't even see Nan to get half those kills anyway.
Yeah,
Because he was just AC 130 in the sky.
And look, I'll throw a bit of a wider one, Cup, for obviously, as we said, you're likely going to qualify into the group stages of the World Cup now. You've only got a couple of matches left, all of which are looking pretty winnable for you guys, as much as I hate to say that about my own national team. Looking more broadly, are there, what teams do you really want to avoid being in your group, assuming you qualify? What teams would you really want to have a chance to play against? Like, what are there any thoughts, in fact, about the rest of the teams in this tournament that you might now have to play in the groups?
I think it's just like a bit of a storyline. You know, you want to avoid Korea at all costs, giving out a lost history with Australia versus them. But no, the rest, bring it on. Yeah, it'll be chill.
Knowing you're
Good
lucky, you guys will
finance.
definitely get South Korea. I think
Absolutely.
Australia's lucky just like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
110% it's going to happen. Well, congratulations, Kuffer. As we said, sort of the last serious challenge for you guys out of the way. Barring Act of God, you should be comfortably qualifying out. In fact, I think mathematically they are definitely going to qualify. It's just a question of
I think so,
whether
yeah.
it's in first or second place. We'll let you catch up with the rest of the team and you know, celebrate and enjoy your victory, bask in the glow of it for the time being. Congratulations, and we'll catch you at the next one.
Thank you. See ya.
And we're not done for the day. Of course, that was only our first match of the night. Big one and a serious one, a very important one, but the important matches certainly do not stop. We have New Zealand versus Malaysia coming up shortly. A must-win indeed. The team that loses will, if I'm not mistaken, themselves be mathematically eliminated, really on the line for this one. And we'll see that match right after this break.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sticking with us through that break. We just saw India versus Australia. Australia sailing through with another 2-0 victory. Seems to be a little bit of the order of the day these days. So with that all being said and done, probably their last tough customer yet, and a pretty impressive showing from Australia.
Yeah, it really was. Super clean gameplay. I think a lot of people were maybe concerned about Australia after the Thailand game. Like, all that one was cutting a bit close, but speaks quality to Thailand's ability because they got that one map. India, unfortunately, could not quite get that one map, and while Thailand and India still have yet to play, and that will come soon this week, and it'll be a very important one for both those teams, as you know, they will be likely now the teams battling for second place. Australia leading their way through 3-0, haven't copped the loss yet. Last two games remaining, Malaysia and New Zealand. Given how the standings are currently, likely to not be as strong as either Thailand or India, so Australia looking pretty solid for potentially first place.
Yeah, really started to feel that way. And, well, as you mentioned, Malaysia and New Zealand being Australia's next two opponents, also playing against each other in this next match. Domino, what are we expecting out of this as we go ahead and take a look at Malaysia's lineup?
Yeah, I'm expecting a pretty close game. They've both got one win on the board and 2 losses, so I'm not too sure exactly who I think is going to pull it. I'm leaning towards New Zealand, but maybe I'm just being biased, you know, them being the neighbour of Australia and everything, but I'm honestly not too sure. I think Malaysia's got a really good lineup here. I think Fantasy's being quite a really strong tank player for the team here, so yeah, personally, I'm not too sure on this one. I think this one could go either way, but I think it's going to be a tough match, and both teams are really, really going to want to win this so that they're still in the running.
Well, you're allowed to be ever so slightly biased. I think that's reasonable. I also hope that New Zealand win, because if they lose, I'm going to have to go and beat up all of them. That's going to be a really exhausting thing for me to do. Let's go ahead and take a look at New Zealand's lineup, the 5 people who I may have to fight tonight if things don't go their way.
I think New Zealand should be able to pull through here, given even in their losses, and they've had to play through some tough customers so far. They did lose to India, and they also lost to Thailand, I believe. So yeah, and both those were 0-2, but there was a couple of competitive moments in there. Some things about New Zealand that still kind of ring through, and you're thinking, okay, well, this is reasonable. They've had a bit of a week to sort of figure things out here as well, and perhaps come through with a bit of improvement. New Zealand are technically, as well as Malaysia, still in the running, still in the game. Checking scorelines, Australia is not even mathematically guaranteed. Yeah, they're at the top of the standings, but they're not mathematically in, which means if Australia then lose 2 matches, somebody else could sneak in there. There is a possibility, maybe a small chance here, of like a multiple 3-2 tiebreaker, 3-2 scoreline, of which both New Zealand and Malaysia, if they want to be part of that 3-2 tiebreaker, they'd have to win their next 2 matches, including this one, which is why between them it is a must-win.
Really interesting situation there, and I mean, as much as it's unlikely that we'll see that, you've still got to play for the percentage chance. You always have to go for it. Let's go ahead and take a look at what our first map is going to be. And of course, once again, first to 2. This first map is preset. Loser will pick the subsequent map between Hybrid and Escort. Then we will go to Push. Then we will go back to Control if we have somehow had a tie on the second map there.
And this will be no fire shenanigans this time, unless Color Hex decides to go towards that, but maybe a little bit echo, probably not
Maybe.
though.
Same map again, Nepal. I'm expecting the Echo. I feel like Color Hex is going to pull it out because it can be really strong on one of those maps with the high ground. So I'm kind of expecting it. But maybe we won't. We'll
Just
see.
a lot of May, I think. This should be May Ram Brawl the entire way through, likely. A little bit of Par Sojin.
Colleagues has favoured the Echo, though. He has quite enjoyed
on dive maps,
on
though.
dive maps, yeah. But
so.
You never know. Could see that. Learned earlier today that I actually didn't know the name of Focus Beam. I mean, I did, but like not properly. It was just like Beam in my head. It's like it's simply Beam.
Imagine if you didn't know Beam, but you knew Focusing. It's like, is that focusing? Is it just focusing?
The focus shot. The focus.
Color Hex is focusing them all.
Alex is really focusing hard right now and
Really
collecting a lot of
focused.
kills. So focused. That sounds like that's like a real like you got to like train for years. It's like a Jedi mind power kind of thing, right? It's like you can focus someone to death.
Yeah.
That's okay. Color Hex has been training for years, playing with Overwatch League and things, you know?
True.
He is focused.
He's dead focused. So all of New Zealand, I imagine, quite focused. As we said, this is a do or die match for them and for Malaysia. And I think the eyeball test still has New Zealand as the stronger of the two here.
Yeah.
I think Malaysia kind of, they've struggled on the whole. Obviously, picking up that win early against Singapore was very emboldening, but what we've since gone on to learn is that Singapore are struggling against everyone. So that win kind of means less and less for every other subsequent team that beats out Singapore.
And also, New Zealand, they also beat out Singapore, but much more convincing. There was a swift 2-0.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not a lot of frills there. New Zealand just kind of, as you'd expect, they're just kind of be able to win that matchup, very minimal mistakes. And said it earlier as well, but in the other matches we had India, Thailand, those are the same matches that Malaysia's played through. Much more competitive despite the 2-0s from Team New Zealand. A lot less flexible, the compositions on the Malaysia side as well, which we'll have to find out what happens on that end.
Yeah, and it does sound like we're having a slight delay getting this game all set up and going, so we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a breather. We'll be back in a moment, hopefully with New Zealand versus Malaysia, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we have the issues resolved. We should be getting stuck right on into New Zealand versus Malaysia. Nearly said Australia. Whew, that's not until Sunday. Yeah, later. Before we get into that, though, Domino, any final thoughts on this particular matchup? What are we looking from either of these teams here to secure the win?
Yeah, I think New Zealand will maybe win it out. I think they've got some really strong players individually. It'll just be coming down to whether or not they can really come together as a team with communication and timings and just outplay Malaysia here. I know Avril mentioned we'll probably see a lot of rush comps. I'm really hoping for some dives, though, because I would love to see Color Hex on the Echo. I'd love to see August on the Ana. I think August is a fantastic Ana player, has some amazing nades and things like that. So, fingers crossed for some dive here, but we'll see what happens.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get stuck into Nepal, and I think you raise a valid point. Quite difficult for New Zealand just to communicate as a rule because we omit vowels from our sentences. It's really hard to figure out what people are saying.
Just create a new language.
I mean, it essentially is that, yeah. Though I will say this, Americans say bro wrong. New Zealanders have it down to a science. We've really nailed the bro, but Americans like bro, they're adding a W at the end of it. It sounds ridiculous. Stop using bro, America. You haven't earned it.
Yeah, what he said.
Also say herb correctly, for heaven's sake. Sorry, for Evan's sake.
My eyes deceive me is JCat thinking about the Junker Queen. Because usually Fantasy plays a lot of Junker. We didn't really see, I think we saw one map around. maybe even half a map of RAM from Fantasy last week.
The J in J Cup
round
actually stands for Junker Queen.
Malaysia going to dude, Fantasy's going to be upset. He's like, I could have just been playing Junker Queen Mirror the whole time. J Cup's got to opt into it.
The Color Hex will in fact be going for a Pharah. We mentioned he may want to go for that or an Echo.
I was thinking the Echo, but he's actually going to go the Fire now.
straight in.
Fun fact, a long time ago. I had to really go back in time here. 2018, I believe it was, when Color Hex was still playing in Contenders Australia. He was super well known for the Fire back then, but it has been a hot minute. It's been a few years now, more than a few years, a long time. He's also had a couple of role swaps in between there, and he's sort of jumping back on the saddle for DPS recently, just for this tournament, as a point that we talked about last week as well. So we'll see how practiced he is, but he would have been like the Fire player for the region before Nanda was really part of Contenders Australia. But you know, given recent proceedings, Nanda's definitely taken that title away, and Color Hex is, at least for the first time now, looking to jump back on the horse, see what he does.
Yeah, because we have you here physically, Kevin, we're going to get pauses. We're going to get lots and lots of pauses. That's how.
Because I'm here physically.
Because you're here physically, exactly. As soon as we're in the room together, pauses. That's how it happens. I think
It's Avril's fault.
Yeah, exactly. I think our longest one was like 45 minutes one time. I remember.
When was
just
that?
like intimate.
Wow.
It was.
I don't remember that one.
It was like there was just constant back and forth pauses across the map, so it was never at any one time long enough to just like.
It wasn't
hang
a
back,
singular
go to break.
45-minute pause.
Yeah, it was a lot of delays over the course of the one game. That's where we had the three bean soup joke, which still sticks in my mind. A real banger, a real classic. I won't retell it tonight. You're gonna have to go back and watch the clip.
It's for the people that were there.
Yeah,
They can enjoy it because they knew they were there.
Exactly, for the OGs. What's the longest you've done, Dominic? What's the longest pause you've had to handle?
It'll be this one right now.
Right now.
Yeah, it'd probably be this one right now with you two. Yeah, exactly. This is already taking the cake. No,
things sure
I
have changed, huh?
definitely haven't had very long ones. Definitely have had a lot within the OCE scene because obviously Australian internet is amazing.
I remember first time I ever did a broadcast on television. We went live and then the internet cut out, so we couldn't access the game servers, and then the backup line also cut out, and we had to fill. That was about 45 straight minutes, just filling non-stop. Tell you what, you really earn your paycheck at that point. Hopefully this isn't going to be 45 minutes.
What do you talk about at that stage, huh? That's just...
we were under very
What a hoot.
strict instructions to keep talking about the game that hadn't happened yet.
That's even worse than...
I know. We don't. I mean, nowadays, you know, we're more advanced, we're more modern. We can talk about whatever we feel like. And I right now feel like taking a break, making some toast. Maybe a cup of tea. Hopefully we'll have these issues resolved for you shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Do stick with us. We'll be right back.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin just told a very funny joke and you'll never get to hear it. We're going to go ahead and get stuck into this game. We're not wasting any time. Players are all ready to go. We're all lined up. Should still be underway and unpausing. So let's get stuck in.
Yeah, I've retold the 3 being Soup story, but only between the two of us.
And it was still very, very
only
funny.
between the two of us.
Yeah. So if you want to hear it, dear viewer, you still have to go and find the old clip.
I don't even know where. I don't even know which game stream. No idea.
Surely it would
too far
be
back. Too far back.
It would have to be on the old, because this was before.
It was too long ago.
It's a Twitch clip. Is it on the Full Circle channel still?
I think you know what? The VODs might even be gone. Anyway.
Maybe.
Anyway.
But the clips remain.
Speaking of things from 2018, Color Hex's Farah.
Color Hex's Farah from 2018.
Yep. And now now that Malaysia have seen the composition that New Zealand are going to play,
Fantasy's like,
Fantasy is also going, I can play
Jungle Queen's on the menu.
And New Zealand they're just gonna keep going. They're gonna keep going on.
I dig that. I almost wonder if they played Jungle Queen expecting Fantasy to play it. I think it's actually New Zealand opting into the mirror.
No, but New Zealand saw that he wasn't, realized he probably will now,
Yeah.
and they'll just both play it.
I love that.
They also realized the fire was going to come through, and they haven't really done anything about that. Not all teams choose to directly deal with it. So we'll see if it becomes a problem for Malaysia.
They're just going to try and avoid
Yeah, it's
him.
becoming a
Numenol's
problem.
not successfully doing that. Another one onto JO003. And another one onto Game Pro Dude. Color Hex,
And another
welcome
one.
back. And another one.
And another
Come on, all 5. No, JCap! How dare you? Color Hex got the assist on that one.
Yeah, not bad. Here comes the changes now. Echo, Mercy. It's a pocketed Echo as well. They really want this. Even the
Really
cats coming
committing.
through.
Yeah. Just a rocket. Well, it's not really a duel, but just firing them off into nowhere, huh? Just hoping for a hit.
Keeping each other busy. Color Hex should not opt to that duel at all and just start firing on other members.
And
like
look
that.
at that.
Like
Immediately, 2 onto Game Pro Dude and drops him. Finn does go down. JW3 getting on top of that. Can't res himself, baby. Color Hex eating some bombs, otherwise just fine.
Like Jay's
JW3
dying.
really low. Yeah, likely to go down here if he's
Where's
not careful.
Numenals?
There we go. August has it.
Where did Numenals go? That was really weird. You saw no healing to JL.
Yeah.
Numenals took a bunch of damage. He's also down. Felt like that should not happen.
Oh, and Fantasy just takes the dive. No, that was a call.
Malaysia looked like they had kind of started to turn that fight around just a little, just a tad. And yet, not the case. Not the case.
Yet. Color Hex now with a Rocket Barrage available.
That he won't really be able to use. This is like there's nothing for him to bet. He's going to have to solo Barrage Fantasy at this rate.
And honestly, why not? Love to see it.
The why not would be Gemini can just bail Fantasy out with a Suzu. Jay can just get the kill on to collect all that's happening. There's a lot of reasons why, really. But
there you go, Fantasy already taking some damage. GamePro Dude has found par in the Tracer duel. That's a decent start. Colorhex still with Numenors. Sorry for the mercy in the pocket. Are you kidding?
Double midi.
Straight onto it. Now looking to get in on Numenors. Going aggressive. Rocket Barrage on the Fantasy as Gemini gone down. Can't cleanse tag when you're dead. I mean, you can't really do most things when you're dead, actually. You can decompose.
There's a clean double mid-air coming through from Colorhex on to Jay. Mechanic's still there, and we're about to finish the round. It's just about there now.
New Zealand just kind of walking it in on this one. Gemini will be able to get away here.
Suzu.
There we go. Numenor's already picked off early. Deduplicate for JW3. I didn't even catch who was able to copy with that one. Does find Colorhex. That's something, but Tracer's on life for it. Finn getting aggressive. Battle Mercy. Yo! Go, Finn, go. He got 3.
Nice 3.
He actually picked up 3.
Yep.
What an absolute banger from Finn.
And 100-0.
Love to see it.
100 to 0.
See it. I'm from here. I'm biased unashamedly, and I'm happy to see it.
You are quite shameful.
I'm usually quite shameful, but I'm unashamed about it.
So that went quite poorly for Malaysia, even trying to counter out the fire directly. That's about as direct as you can go. Echo, Mercy, Pocketed Echo, plus the Cassie Man. Wow, they threw. The only thing they could throw further than that is a kitchen sink and also a Fantasy on the Diva. I think that would have been it. After that, there's not more that you can really do.
But that would require Fantasy to not play Junker Queen, and frankly, that's not happening.
Jacob's gonna do a little bit of Coffer cosplay here.
Yeah.
Out comes the arrest from round number 2.
Colorhex still feeling it with the pocketed.
Yeah. And you can totally fire on Sanctum here.
The skybox is high enough, getting the long shots down here as well. They've got par to help with that, so it's actually quite a lot.
Oh, they're changing? No, they're just rotating.
Quick rotation as well.
I mean, they're still going to be stuck. If they go through the drop down here, they're going to be stuck underneath the map.
Numenor's feeling a bit of heat.
Which is swapping sides of the map, or, yeah, okay, keep going. They're still gone.
Ring around the rosy, let's go. I mean, New Zealand is just going to go for the point instead. Why not? JCap getting right up in Malaysia's business.
That's an interesting wall.
003 going cold. This Fantasy very low. Does find JCap, but Numenor is actually going to be the first one to go down. Rocket Barrage available for Colorhex. Still has the Mercy in the bottom. Needs to get turf dropped off. Doesn't need it. Uses it. Here we go. It's going to get 1. Looking to pick up Gemini as well. We'll be able to get that right at the end. And then JW3 also going down. Solid start from New Zealand, getting the cap while Malaysia just kind of rotated endlessly.
And New Zealand could have kept rotating as well. I mean, Jacob didn't even need to go up into the face of Malaysia. It would have been really funny just to see both teams rotating away from each other while New Zealand hold the point. I mean, they could have done that. Because Malaysia were going all the way around the map. They were going around the world there. Now comes the cast one more time. Hoping for a little bit more this time. Note that Par is still on the Ash, so quite a decent amount of outrange there.
Coalescence sort of thrown forward towards JCap. Not feeling too much pressure. And Finn happy to drop out of the pocket to top JCap off. There we go, Gemini down par. A little bit low for his trouble. GamePro Dude does the wraparound, but with both supports dead. Fantasy is a sitting duck.
Off the map there as well.
JW3 also sitting, not quite sure what kind of bird he is. And GamePro Dude, I'm going to say is a sparrow. No, a hummingbird. Nice pulse farm.
Not bad pulse at all. Wow, GamePro Dude 3.
Finally goes down. That actually opens things up here for Malaysia. New Zealand are 3 down on this.
Well, they are respawning and they have to back out a lot. Malaysia are going to use that opportunity to rush on point as a full 4-man squad.
We'll be able to get the cap. The J-cap. They didn't actually get J-cap. He was still alive.
No, out he comes. 2 ultimates on board for New Zealand. Bob too far away there as well. Bob would have been good.
Woo! Quick catch from Power. It's GamePro Dude. JW3 on the Cassidy. Not finding much, going down to JCap, and New Zealand very clean fight to pick the point back up. So GamePro Dude, bit of a flash of brilliance there, and it gives Malaysia 19%, but JCap just as brilliant and doesn't require in brief moments of inspiration. It's a consistent thing.
New Zealand didn't even need to go for the Bob there either. That was just a little bit extra.
They just wanted a 6th member.
They kind of out of ultimates now, which is a little bit unfortunate for them. Colorhex will just continue to chase, and GamePro Dude had nowhere to run there.
Very clean. Rocket Barrage available. Just going to go straight in, drop that onto Fantasy. 99. There was a touch in there. I'm not sure who quite was able to get it, but at any rate, nobody there to follow it up. I think it must have been Gemini. And the overtime wick will burn down. Not quite 100-0 on the second go around, but that was off the back of that one play from Game Pro Dude. Pulse bomb to collect a kill, got 2 people low, clipped them off there for or thereafter while Color Hex was reloading the rockets. Solid start from New Zealand.
Very one-sided, extremely one-sided. 100-0 on our first round, where I don't even know New Zealand really had anyone die there. Maybe one player died.
From a country that sometimes accidentally gets left off maps.
You say it's an accident. I'm
do
going
say
to assume malice.
I know someone recently.
Sometimes it's malice.
I know someone recently who was traveling somewhere. I can't remember where it was, and they got stopped at the border and questioned because the person hadn't heard of New Zealand. And then they go, "You need to point to where it is on the map." They pull up a map, and they have one of those maps that didn't have New Zealand printed on them. And they genuinely had to like pull up on their phone.
You just got to point to Old Zealand. Was the Old Zealand's here?
Yeah, it'd be like it's like that, but on the other side of the world.
Yeah, there's a new one.
Yeah, we made a whole New Zealand. It's just as good, if not better. That was a fun game. That was a really fun start. I mean, how are we feeling about that, Domino? I'm even going to kick my leg up. I'm feeling relaxed.
So I think the question of today, everyone, is how do you deal with a Farah? Because we've seen teams struggle with it. Australia pulled out the Farah, now New Zealand's pulled out the Farah, and no one, I think, has successfully stopped the Farah. You know, how do you stop them from controlling the skies and just, you know, being
You play a better Echo.
like,
Simply be better at the game.
But the operative word being better, and the Echo was not better.
Yeah, sad to
Sadly.
say. Well, I mean, not sadly for me. I'm having the time of my life. My country's team is winning. That's all I care. I'm going to go ahead and see if they continue winning. I almost want them to tie on this map just so we can go to a third one because I want to see more of this. I want to see more of some success from New Zealand. It's been a long time coming. We're going to go ahead and see a little bit more of New Zealand just after this break.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back to the land of huge success. New Zealand are 1-0 up against Malaysia right now. I'm going to continue to be unashamedly biased. There's no two ways about that. We get to be smug for once. The Aussies have had far too much of a field day lately, isn't that right, Domino?
Yes, well, we have, and I'm going to be biased about it as well. Go Australia! Nice work done. But New Zealand has won the first one against Malaysia, and as we saw, Colour Hex absolutely popping off on the Farah. Can he do it again? Will the second map be able to have a Farah on it? We'll have to see what Malaysia have chosen for the map against them. But yes, as we can see here, look, Colour Hex just uncontested in the skies, just kill after kill. Malaysia just had no answer. They tried to pull the Echo out, but it just didn't work for them.
Well, they have an answer. It's just it didn't work, unfortunately. It would work for most teams, but you have to outplay the Fire. I mean, the Echo needs to be a good enough Echo performance to be able to outplay the Fire. And you even do this pocket. I mean, usually when you counter the Fire has to be pocketed. Echo doesn't. A solo Echo is normally expected to beat the Fire as a duo, because then you 1v2 them. Even if you don't win that 1v2, you sort of pull 2 away and play the 4v3 elsewhere. But here, Malaysia went for about as hard of a count as possible. I mentioned the only thing they could have done more is play D.Va as well, which Fantasy, unfortunately, is not going to be able to bring to the table. But no, they couldn't deal with it at all. And then you move over towards second round, and things, unfortunately, did not really improve. They improved slightly because they did one fight win over some huge plays from GamePro Dude, but that's about it.
Living up to his name, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe if J003 changed his name to Pantone, he'd be superior to Colour Hex. And we'll see in just a hot minute as well what Malaysia choose to pull up for their map, obviously choosing between Escort and Hybrid. And we've been saying that there's the possibility, the technical possibility of draws. That's why there are 4 potential maps that we can play, and that's only if we specifically go to Hybrid and then have a draw.
Righto.
In the space available, draw a bath.
Do we think we're going to see Circuit Royale? I was just about to say it, Circuit Royale!
There it is, Circuit Royale never gets on. And in all fairness, J003 has had some reasonable showings on this.
I mean, the player that has had the showing on this, that's I think the main reason for Malaysia to pick this is so they can play Fantasy on the Sigma. That's the only other reliable hero choice for Fantasy, and a good. I actually prefer his Sigma to the Junk Queen. It's just that you can't play Sigma. You can't play Sigma most other maps. Yeah, it's the only map you can play it on.
Require shoes, strict no shirt, no shoes, no service rules on other maps. Circle Royale is the difference, which is ironic because Monaco is
Monaco, and it's a hotel.
It's known to be quite fancy. You'd think they'd have a dress code, but actually it's the one place that doesn't.
As long as you float over the tarmac.
As long as you float over the.
They don't want you walking on the track and damaging it.
Get your greasy shit. That's why actually he's preferred, because he's floating. Anyone who can float or fly, Echo, fan of Echo, Farah, etc. Zenyatta who floats. Yeah, doesn't even have footsteps. That boy. That's how floaty he is. I assume Sigma doesn't have footsteps either.
But he does have foots.
certainly does. I mean, so does Zenyatta. In fact, his quick melee is a kick. Very sharp up angle on Zenyatta.
Why don't you tell us all about the time that you went to Monaco that you're so proud of?
I've never been.
Okay. I just thought that you would. I assumed that you would.
No, I mean, I have been to a significant chunk of Europe, but not Monaco.
Wow.
Because
you have something against them.
Yes. I'm a monogas hater.
You don't like principalities is what you don't like?
As a rule, microstates and micronations, miss me with that. San Marino, like San Marino.
I think if you cut New Zealand in half, so it was North Island and South Island, different states, they would both be microstates.
They'd still actually be bigger than Vatican and San Marino, Liechtenstein.
Would they be small enough to be microstates? Yeah,
no, I don't think so, because they'd still be bigger than Liechtenstein and Luxembourg and Andorra.
They'd be bigger than some of the Pacific Islands as well. Maybe, I'm actually not
absolutely.
Sure
The Pacific Islands, landmass wise, are really small.
Okay.
The thing is, a lot of the Pacific Islands are technically
size shaming countries. You hear that?
They're island groups. So it's do you count the overall footprint of the island group, including the ocean between them, or do you just count the landmass itself?
The landmass that's also underwater that one day will rise up.
That on average,
tectonic activity.
On average, there's something like 2.17 popes per square kilometer in the Vatican.
I don't even know. Oh, okay, yeah.
Anyway. Circuit Royale, snipers.
JCap map as well. The thing is, if you want to go to Circuit Royale, well, JCap is very happy to pull out his best hero, which is also the Sigma.
Oh, hello.
It has been a hot minute since Colour Hex has also played any Widowmaker, so this is... maybe a challenge. Color Hex just, I was going to say, barely lives, but Fantasy will make sure he doesn't.
J003 just clicking some heads.
Yep.
Woo, there's another one. And a big, very big head there on Sigma.
Yeah. Asian 003 out playing cards in Casino Royale. This is what this is.
Monty Casino Royale.
Color Hex instantly off the Widow. As I mentioned, Color Hex already is maybe having to pull a bit of double duty off-rolling here back onto DPS. And Widow is something he hasn't really had in Zero Ball for some time, so we're moving off that pick really quickly. I would have been surprised he's not on the Hanzo. I think that would have been the natural next choice. It's gone for a Genji. And it's not a well-supported Genji. Typically, if you're going to go Genji, your support needs to also be break.
Rest in pepperonis, JCat. Not sure what happened there. Continuing on forward. I really want to see Color Hex get a deflate headshot off of J003. That would just tickle.
That's one of the only ways that you can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only way you win that matchup without diving in.
It's a real classic. It never gets old. We've also got Shimada Bowl here. Not often that we get to see that one. Relive the cinematic. You can't relive the cinematic anymore, actually.
New Zealand slowly gaining some space back after kind of struggling early on. Nothing to counter this one out, so just a free window from Malaysia to claim this fight without too much issue. Yeah,
finding par with that. And yeah, this is a very surprising slowdown from New Zealand. They look a little bit lost right now.
Because they're not playing double sniper. And Color X's value on the Genji is pretty low here, like
especially with
very
low.
And again, like I said, if you're gonna play the Genji, you need the Brig support to really push in with Jacob on the Sigma. You have the Sigma and the Brig pushing in together, buying space for Color Hex, and then you can hard poke up Color Hex with the cookies you throw as well.
All right, they've got themselves a Flux. They've nearly got themselves a Dragon Blade, and they use the window to get a little bit of space. Sector committing that one out, and there we go.
Sector caught.
Okay, that's an interesting combination there. They use the Flux to lift Sector out of the Dragon Strike. Par does go down early in the bout here, and Finn, goodness gracious, New Zealand just no answer to these snipers as JCat gets absolutely nothing out of his Flux as well, and loses his life.
We haven't talked about the backline yet, but I would have assumed as Color Hex is going to try really hard here, and try he will, that if you were going to, if knowing that it's Circuit Royale, knowing that you're very likely to play double flexible here, you would have kept August in to play one of the said two flex supports. And then between Finn and Sector, I can't remember which one of those two is really a flexible player. None of them might be Sector, actually. You'd sub Finn out so that you can keep August in to play one of these two. But in any case, here we are. I think the lack of the Hanzo, the lack of the second sniper probably hurts New Zealand more than anything else, though.
Yeah, really feeling the difference there. Par, though, has the overclock. We'll go ahead and commit that. Has the window out from Gemini that he's got to deal with. Trying to get those long shots down. Every time he pops his head out, both snipers really have his mark. And Color Hex still waiting for an opportunity to go in for a dive. Needs to get something. Needs to get a bit of a squishy member. Get some resets in on the dashes.
Time.
This is an odd spot for New Zealand. Now, Color Hex has to go in with this blade. They find Fantasy. They lose it. Oh, for goodness sake. They got the cap, but they... all right, this is certainly a game of Overwatch.
The problem is, Malaysia didn't have to pull that far back. 4 members just, like, vacated. Stranger than that is, okay, Par ults, he's overclocking. Gemini responds with the window, but then they abandon the window. You could just... It should be Par hiding for his life. It should be the other way around. Par needs to respect the window and not get shot up by the window, not 4 members of Malaysia just running away.
Look at how much space they've been able to take as well, just because the only thing left was those 2 snipers, and I believe it was Gemini, or was also alive at the time. Sector does get picked off by GamePro Dude. This has become a very unusual game. Color Hex has now sat on a blade for a long time.
I would have imagined he would have had to pull that last fight, but they only needed to kill Fantasy to cap, so I guess not.
Yeah.
Now they can look towards blading for this particular point at some stage.
Nice rock landing onto Fantasy. Got him in the Flux as well. Drop down, and there we go. No Immortality Field deployed to save him. It was further back. Didn't quite catch Fantasy, unfortunately. It was the slam down that killed him. So with him dead, it's the same thing. Malaysia just have to get forced way, way back.
It's a shame because they don't have other ultimates as well. It's like, you know, a Transcendence in that particular area would have been fantastic. Both of those ends have kind of had slow ult charge on that. Dragon Strike was slightly too far away. It's finally available now.
Just looking for a shot onto JCat there, not finding it. Again, Immortality Field's not in play anymore. Fantasy nearly as a flux. Is dead though, and I mean, surely Kalax goes for a blade now.
No,
he's
you
still
don't need
just
it. You
holding.
don't need it.
Yeah, he doesn't, but he's, I mean...
If all you need to do is kill Fantasy with Cap, you can just
You
chill.
just do that.
That's 3 times now. That's really all it's been.
Thank you for the Hercules update.
You just kill Fantasy once and you cap 3 times. Well, twice, really.
Look at him
But
drifting there
three
in the
fight
water.
wins, I should say, not 3 caps.
What kind of a duck is purple anyway? Hey,
The
there's the
rubber
guy.
kind.
The rubber kind. It's Color Hex. Well, he's certainly still got a blade. That much I can say.
Normally I would say, man, he's holding for too long. Here, it's just like, well, he just hasn't needed to use it.
Does die. Bit funny.
And now it'd be funny if he swapped. The
Fantasy.
blade just never eventuates.
Yeah.
He won't. Genji's actually legitimately good here, so.
Yeah, might as well, might as well. They're sort of past the part where the snipers really have total unbounded control of JW3 off the Widowmaker now as well. Of course, over onto the Sojourn. Still is that overclock. A lot of ultimates actually on the table for New Zealand.
But it's New
here.
Zealand pushing, so Malaysia need to be the ones to do something about this first. They are forced to answer this, because we're free pushing.
All right, right on in, no delay there. Transcendence
Four-man.
Ooh, able to lift him out of the Transcendence to get the kill onto GamePro Dude. Nicely done, and finally the blade. He finds Gemini, finds Numinos, really getting the kills collected. Fantasy low may yet go down, certainly not to the blade, but will go down to par, getting the body shot.
That was a 4v5, by the way, because I remember in New Zealand, I believe one of the supports was solo pushing the payload the entire way through.
Very tasty. And GamePro Dude barely
rock.
getting out of the gate. Yeah, fantastic catch. JW3 not going to last long either. Gemini
Don't
certainly
even
not.
touch.
And they went from being really on the back foot, possibly not even capping 8, and actually completing the map in the end.
Well, they finally got their way around the corner. I think
Yeah.
what came through was, Ultimate started coming online for New Zealand. They used one overclock from par, and Malaysia gets so scared, the whole team just backs out. Fantasy obviously holds the front line on the payload, but he's the only one in any position to maintain that position. So as soon as he dies, Cap's gone, and Malaysia just gets snowballed from that point onwards. New Zealand continue rolling through, continue building ultimates. Codex can now find better angles as he's no longer playing a single lane long sight lines. And C was maybe the most confusing part, because, C should not have been that easy for New Zealand. C is supposed to be the most difficult point for any attacking team.
I got a question.
And yet Malaysia couldn't quite hold it all, didn't even stop payload.
I got a question. What is the lore of this map? Why are they escorting a race car, and off the side you can see race cars actually driving?
So that you can actually you got to push it onto the track, and
What's going on?
they're actually part of the race, but this car you have to push. It doesn't have a functioning engine, you just have to push.
Right, it's very slow moving.
It's like a Flintstones car, you have to kind of manually get it on.
Nigel Mansell did that once. He
Push it to the finish
broke
line.
down. Yeah, he broke down and got out of his car and started pushing.
Are you DNF, or you are still in the race?
I
and you
believe
still
he'd be
push
disqualified. I believe even if he had got it over the line, he wouldn't have counted.
So your engine must be working.
I think it's more that you have to be driving it. You got to be in it.
So the what if the pit crew came out and pushed you? You're still driving. You're still in the car.
There's other rules that prevent them from going out onto the track.
Right. The higher people just to fill the
Oh!
track, just in case that happens. Because if they start on the track, then it's not an issue.
Just getting away, huh? Well, certainly that's what's happening here.
There's cars in the way too.
Yeah, just a lot of things in the way on this
certainly
one.
is.
Yeah, terrible time.
New
to try
Zealand,
and
see,
have a
their
race.
positioning here is so different. New Zealand, they're confident to get
So
aggressive. And
aggressive.
actually, fair point. Jay does punish that, so that is what you got to do. You see New Zealand rock up towards your spawn. You have an opportunity to get a punish. That's what you got to do, because otherwise, a team feeling very confident like New Zealand is going to try and push you as far as they can, even defensively. So show the respect here. Codex also, by the way, now on the Hanzo, which I respect. I think this is a much more sensible decision for A point.
The other Shimada. I remember we used to joke that there was a third Shimada brother. I do appreciate that they haven't quite brought that one in yet. JW3, Jeff Shimada, who just handles the accounts, runs the books. He's not like a ninja or assassin or anything. Ooh, JCap down as well, so bit of an opening here now for Malaysia.
Hello there.
Well, they're not really pushing along. I mean, New Zealand still hang around. They're 4v5.
Ooh,
maybe New Zealand have hung out for a little too long because now they're going to get cleaned up or at risk of force out the extra window from Gemini, which is something. So they can't afford to lose extra members. Sector. Okay, I was going to say, if Sector gets out alive here, that would be pretty tragic for Malaysia not having the cleanup.
Yeah, he nearly was dead and just nobody was particularly looking at him at that particular moment. They do find Color Hex late, at least.
But they can retake with 4. So New Zealand can still retake on 4, which they're currently kind of doing. The Jacob just holding payload. Why are Malaysia not pushing further forward in?
Just don't seem to have the confidence by the looks of things. Flux is available from
good
Jacob.
dodge,
Go
what a
ahead
draw.
and connect. What is that melody? You tell me. JW3 lifted sky high, dropped down. Sectar's dead, but he got the immortality field off first. That helped New Zealand out just a little bit. Numenor's Transcendence long since run out. Finn pops his in response to Dragons of GamePro Dude. Speaking of which, is down to Color Hex. The defense coming through for New Zealand. Numenor's down as well. Fantasy.
What an outplay.
Yeah, fantastic.
Gemini needs to get out here. Good punish again. Color Hex wanted to chase maybe slightly greedily for the final kill. And Jay's been, I think, the one outstanding factor for Malaysia that's kind of kept New Zealand honest. That was the case. Him would have sniped on the defense, sniping on the offense here as well. The one that's kind of, if anyone, able to turn the tide. 1 minute left.
And now 1 minute, do or die for Malaysia here if they lose this one. Not much of a pathway to qualification for them. Very critical defense for New Zealand on the other side of that, keeping their tournament hopes alive. Obviously, they will still be relying on other teams getting into tiebreaker situations, but still, you've got to play for the opportunity, and New Zealand certainly are. Ooh, whew. Really felt that one whiz past your ears. Par with the overclock running, just laying out the damage. They are running the clock down.
Oh, that's a shot.
Brutal,
Opportunity.
absolutely brutal.
Big opportunity now.
Yeah, massive opening exposed here. Oh, but they find GamePro Dude, so all even Stevens now. It's just Color Hex and JW3. It's going to be first a Flux out from JCap. Dumps Fantasy with it. JW3 down, and it's all going to start unraveling. Less than 10 seconds left. JCap living within a lick of death there. Dragon Strike across from Color Hex just to stop those respawners from running up and contesting the cart. Gemini not going to get close enough. And the hold completed. Hi, Hercules.
And you see the desperation at the end there where, unfortunately, even for JW3, sort of one differential factor here that tried his really best and had some good things going from, failed to kill, I think, Sector at the end there. Sector getting away on 1 HP. Brutal. And they started 5v4 as well. They got an early pick and just couldn't capitalize. It was if you can't win in that moment, then unfortunately the map is just going to be too far away from you. And 2 of them done.
Yeah.
2-0 for New Zealand.
Exactly. Seemed like a little bit of a lack of confidence there from Malaysia. So congratulations to New Zealand for the win. As I said, keeping the tournament hope alive, and I think very well played on the whole. Certainly that little bit cleaner across Nepal, I think, with the Farah in pocket. But welcome back, Domino. It appears you've gone for a dip.
Just gonna say it's Hercules. I love it. I love the duck. I don't have a huge amount to say. I feel like you and Avril kind of pointed it out a lot. Like Malaysia was very hesitant, or they were sort of playing safe. Like they kept walking backwards when they were defending, and then when they're attacking, they just weren't working forwards enough. So they weren't taking these opportunities to either push or hold aggressively when they should have, which really just allowed New Zealand to kind of get in there and get the kills they needed. As you pointed out, we saw Color Hex hold and ult for so many team fights because it just wasn't needed, because Malaysia wasn't being aggressive enough and just wasn't holding forward for New Zealand to have to use these abilities.
A little bit of a heartbreaker, I think, for Malaysia. And certainly some questions raised there about, I guess they're, I don't know, you don't want to say shot calling because that makes it sound like it's too, it's too singularly focused, but certainly it seemed like they just lacked direction.
I think the decisiveness is more accurate what I believe it would be.
Yeah.
But just a lot of things there, like there's a lot of lack of confidence going on. They probably do know that their player quality, team quality is on the lower side compared to New Zealand, and despite New Zealand sort of losing to the Thailands and the Indies in this tournament, they are still clearly a cut above the bottom 2.
Well, and that has now very much been locked in, and I do believe we are going to be able to have a little bit of a catch-up with one of the players. Hi, Finn. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good.
I was about to question why it was so dark there, but I realized it is actually nighttime. I don't know why I was surprised by that. How are the boys feeling after that? That was a bit of a must-win for you guys, given how last week went. So how are we feeling? It's a bit of the mojo coming back?
Yeah, I mean, it was good to get a win. I'm not sure, like, what the chances are of us still qualifying are, but yeah, it's still good to come in here and win some games.
Well, it would require you to beat Australia. That's another must-win for you. So that is no longer just going to be a fun trans-Tasmanian sort of rivalry matchup, but you need to beat Australia now to have a chance at all, to have a shot. So how do you feel about that eventual matchup, as that, I believe, is going to be your final game of this tournament?
Yeah, it'll be a tough match. Like, Australia is probably the best team in the group, so we'll have to, like, go above to win that one, but we'll have to see on the day. It'll be a good game.
Yeah, and I guess if, unfortunately, you do not qualify through, has the team found that this has been a really good learning experience for them, like with training and that? Like, is this just, you know, in your careers as Overwatch players, is this kind of an experience that's been really beneficial for you guys?
Yeah, it's definitely been, like, a really fun few months leading up to the tournament. I think personally for me, like, these are the best teammates I've played with, so it's given me, like, a really great opportunity to learn and get a chance to play with some, like, really great players. So yeah, it's been a really good time, and I've really enjoyed it. And I'm sure everybody else has as well.
Really just roasting some of your other teammates there. But I've got a quick question here as well. So obviously from week 1 to week 2, you've had another opportunity now that you've played some of these teams to go in a little bit more detail with your prep. What do you guys feel are the biggest things that you've actually changed and worked on and improved between last week and this week?
I think mostly we've just focused on playing what we're good at instead of trying to, like, force the meta. I think in a tournament like this, the meta is not really defined as hard as, like, maybe in Overwatch League it is. So we can definitely get away with playing more of our style. Like, I think you saw the Farah today is more into, like, the mechanical, like, skills of our teammates. So yeah, I think you can expect more stuff like that in our last game, or not. Maybe we'll play something else.
Or not. Said with absolute confidence. And speaking of, Colour X did seem very confident on that pick. Thank you very much for your time, Finn. Congratulations to the boys, and best of luck moving forward. Hopefully you're still in contention when that Australia Trans-Tasman bout comes up on the docket on the final day.
Oh, thank you, guys.
And with that, we have only one match left up on the card for tonight, and that is, of course, going to be Thailand versus Singapore. Another team technically still in contention. Thailand looking at the heels of that top 2, especially now that India has also lost out to Australia, as Thailand did earlier on in the tournament. Going to be a very exciting one. Well, if you're a Thailand fan, maybe. Stick around for that. We'll be right back.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sticking with us through that break. We have just seen New Zealand picking up a much-needed win against, shall we say, lackluster-looking Malaysia. Good to see the boys keep the tournament hope alive, I suppose. We were actually just looking in the break about
Would you like me to tell you what the
else would
tournament
need to
hope
happen for New Zealand's path to the top 2 to stay open. Yeah, go ahead.
It would actually
Yeah,
require a
please.
specific result from this particular game as well. We're about to head into Thailand versus Singapore. And basically New Zealand need a bunch of 3-2 tiebreakers to happen. At minimum, 2 out of the 3 teams between Australia, Thailand, and India, they would have to be at a 3-2. You have to force a 3-way 3-2 tiebreaker, assuming Australia just makes it in by default. Thailand, India, and New Zealand have to be in a 3-way 3-2 tiebreaker. For that to happen, Singapore needs to beat either India or Thailand, and Singapore are playing Thailand right now. So
Right now.
this would be one of the games that Singapore would have to win in order for New Zealand to have a shot.
Let's go for it.
That or Australia has to lose to Malaysia.
My brain's about to
all of this, New Zealand still has to then beat Australia.
Still has to be in Australia, yeah. But I mean, hey, stranger things have happened.
It would be wild if Singapore did the legwork for New Zealand, only for New Zealand to then still lose
against
Australia.
yeah.
And Singapore's like, come on, we helped you guys. So.
Really did the solid.
Really,
oh well.
dude.
Oh well. But of course, that is the match that we have coming up now. Thailand versus Singapore. Let's go ahead and take a look at the teams.
Yeah, so let's take a look at Thailand. Thailand actually has probably one of my favorite players currently, Ace. Ace last weekend was so good to watch. They got some aces. They were quite a key player here, and so I'm really excited to see them play again. I do think this will be an easy win for Thailand. So despite Avril's very complicated maths there, I don't think Singapore will take this one out. I think Thailand has a very strong team there.
Probably not, but that's what New Zealand need to play on right now. New Zealand are crossing all fingers and toes. They are praying to the internet gods, which
big upset.
which boomed Punk out of the server earlier.
They did.
So if there's a will, there's a way. If there's a way to rub the genie's lamp again and make a wish happen.
Yeah.
This would be one of the games to wish it upon.
The internet gods do listen, apparently. Let's go ahead and take a look at Team Singapore. Vital, Vips, Ashkane, Paper, and Cup, all on the starting lineup for tonight.
And Vital's back.
Vital is
Okay, Vital's back. So opportunity? Question mark. I mean,
opportunity question mark.
Cup's
That's
back
the
on
difference.
Cup's back on the supports. He's going to be playing support Reaper, and I just think it's very important that Vital is back on the roster because I think he was the best player on the Singapore roster on day 1 that we saw.
Would you say it's Vital?
No.
Okay, I would. It's probably why you made Overwatch League and I didn't. Domino, what do we think about this team?
I have to agree with Avril. I think Vital is a very strong player and was very strong when we saw them play on day 1. So look, maybe there is hope for New Zealand that Singapore's going to surprise us here. Maybe. Now I'm interested to see. I didn't realize they had the change up. So interesting. Change of events, but yeah.
It still might not be enough, but at least it helps.
There's a
It
good
does help.
chance
It helps.
that it won't be enough.
Yeah, it probably won't be enough, but it does help.
It does. It certainly does help. It certainly does help. It's like if you're drowning, it helps if you haven't also been shot.
Okay.
It does help. It is
Not as
better
offensive as
to
I thought.
not be shot if you're drowning. Do you remember, I don't know, I saw it on an episode of Mythbusters if you could like avoid bullets by being underwater, and they found out it was,
You can,
it was
actually.
true. It actually worked.
You do, yeah.
But we're going to start things off on Nepal, 3 for 3 on that one tonight. We're really feeling Nepal today.
If you want to be invulnerable, just go underwater. The
go
breathing
underwater.
thing is a bit of an issue.
It is a bit of a problem.
But-
yeah. You know that's why we have hiccups. It comes from like before we like evolved out of the ocean. It was a way of like getting air out of like the body because we took an oxygen from the water. So that's actually still a reflex that exists. The funny thing is we didn't ever lose that reflex. Instead, we just developed like a part in the brain that like shuts it off. So when you see cases of people who have hiccups for like 20, 30 years, it's usually because they've suffered a brain injury that's damaged the part of the brain. That is all to say, the default for the human body is yes hiccups, and there is a specific switch that turns us into no hiccups that could break at any time.
All right, well, thanks for that interesting fact. I'm going to take us back to talk about Nepal and question, do we think we'll see another Farah? Do we think we'll go 3 for 3 with the Farah plays? Do we know any key Farah players?
Really
by the
Farah
team?
players. I mean, they might try, but
but
I don't know it.
Vital.
I don't know into the
Final's going to do
real
it, and
possibility.
that's how Singapore are going to pick up their win. It's going to be a massive upset. New Zealand's going to stay in contention. I can see it. Call me clairvoyant. We do have a little bit of a delay, though, getting all these teams lined up into the lobby. So we will be right back with you. Don't go anywhere.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I do believe we have everything resolved. We're all lined up and ready to go for Thailand versus Singapore. Before we go ahead and jump straight into that, any final thoughts?
Thailand wins. That's my only thought. I think
a thought.
Singapore put up a fight, but I think Thailand's going to have this one in the bag, and they need to have this one in the bag if they want to stay in the top two to qualify.
I think Ace.
Avril?
I think Ace gets a 5K in this match.
All right, Ace gets the ace. There we go. Well, let's go ahead and get stuck into it. We have Nepal as our first map on the match. And I love that elephant. I really do.
Why?
I think it's just that it's so familiar to me now.
What are these animals?
Nope, don't care. I'm not as much of a fan of
discriminatory.
lion with face of man and rhinoceros and small horse.
You know, they decided to Lion to be more threatening with the face of man. You know, I actually agree.
I do agree.
That's kind of whack. That's wild.
Yeah.
So like, what's going on there?
What's up with all those, like in medieval books, there's a lot of people fighting snails. What's up with that? Did that happen with giant snails in the past?
Don't even understand what you just said.
I'll send you pictures later. It's really weird. It's just a lot of large snails in medieval manuscripts.
Yeah, you know, in prehistoric times, this is obviously going way back before medieval, just bigger animals, bigger creatures. No, seriously, everything was bigger.
Just bigger.
Yep.
Bigger in general.
Things were large. So we got Sanctum first. We've started Shrine first twice, played Sanctum second. Got one village in there, no village last time because I didn't make it all 3 rounds. Singapore going to roll through on Rambrawl. Thailand, mostly the same, except they're playing Lucio, Moira version. And Hanzo. Okay, good. So, not the Reaper. We're going to get the Hanzo for the off angles. Hanzo does really well in the lanes here as well, so do enjoy that.
Vital going over to the Widowmaker.
Which is very strange.
Yeah. Very tight map. Look to see how that pays off. As muscling a little bit forward, but Thailand just kind of happily rotating. Oh!
1 HP.
That's a 1.
That's an actual 1 HP.
Good
Wow.
gracious.
There's 4 HP left to heal in Vital, just want to say that.
Yeah, come on, sports. Get with it. Not quite connecting the headshots, and now under pressure, dove onto. Would that 4 hit points have been the difference to get him to that health pack, I wonder. Apudo, though, down in the trade, so bit of a trade-off there for Singapore.
Ashkane left outside.
Yeah, can he get on to the point, though, with the team at his back? He has survived thanks to that immortality field, but maybe not much longer now that it's gone. He's still super low, and the support's not quite able to top him off super easily. Contesting the point for sure. Ashkane finally getting topped off. Vips now taking a shot. Will go down. Traded for Ace. That's something. And Ashkane still just sitting pretty on this point, though, with paper down. Only Cup healing up. Might be a little bit of a goner here. Ashkane, as the coalescence from Pally will secure it, and obviously Thailand having already had the point cap, just keeping control.
And now, okay, I think Vital must have been really close for that to happen. Singapore, sniping out of spawn sucks. This is where the Widow is unfortunately going to be even worse. I was expecting maybe Vital could look towards a Hanzo. You're not giving much up anyway. Infrasight is not a great ultimate, so it's not like you're really hurting for that if you give it away. But sniping out of spawn doesn't give you anything to work through at all.
Blizzard available from High Vision to keep the point locked down. Cup taking a few shots in rotation as Vital having to...
He grappled over.
So yeah, grappled to safety. Paper goes down in the rotation. They've got a wall up to isolate Ashkane. Ice indeed is High Vision, keeping him frozen. Vips going down as well. Now Vital finally dusted off by Ace. Getting close to a lockout.
Really close, no, rather really fast rotation, because you saw a bunch of players from Thailand, I think even including Calvin, chasing after Vital. They still made it back to the point on time. Battle out Ashkane, take him down. Singapore are now coming up to all of their first ultimates. This is where they got to use them.
Dragon Strike across the team just to try and slow Singapore down. They've thrown a Blizzard in the mix as well. Haven't really caught many people with that. They do dust off Vips. That's something in Singapore. They commit their own Blizzard. Ace actually goes down. So does Apudo, but Vital and nobody able to actually touch the point. I believe it was Vital who was going for it. So nice find there by Pally.
I think Cup would have been realistically the best player to do it, but yeah, this is a sad comp, I think. You know, Vital should be the game changer, but maybe not like this. The Widowmaker just does not work on Sanctum at all. Realistically, it doesn't work on this map, generally speaking. So, something a little bit different here. I think Ace could possibly even go off of the Hanzo here and look more towards, not necessarily a Genji, but I was thinking potentially, depending on the hero pool, I think Ace is more of a hit scan, isn't he? So, no, he's not. He's the flex DPS. So he could go towards an Echo. He could go towards Reaper here, Sombra, depending on how they want to play through this. It is going to be a Jungle Queen from Calvin. Are they expecting Ashkane to pull Winston? Because now I think they're going to be maybe a bit lacking in the mirror, but they should still be able to outskill on individual mechanics.
And that's certainly what they're going to have to be leaning on for this exchange. Opening scrap. Trying to use a wall to isolate up Calvin. Shout just to keep everyone topped off. Little Vips, in too long and not able to pop the ability to freeze himself, stay safe. And now 2 down as Ashkane goes down as well. Thailand just sort of forcing the brawl to happen there, and it pays off brilliantly for them.
And again, they haven't lost a fight yet. They have barely lost members. Can't even remember too many players dying on the first round, if any. It took a long time for Singapore to find offense as well on Sanctum. That took definitely way too long.
Whew. Vital down early in the bout to Ace. Just getting all over him and now trying to get aggressive here. It's a low Calvin, but able to stay topped off as they dust off paper. Singapore trying to make the fight happen, trying to follow up and secure Calvin, but they just end up in so deep. Apuno does go down and Vip's able to freeze himself up to stay alive.
That's three.
Instead, though, Ash Kane goes down, Vips, and there we go. Come on, Ace. Come on, Ace. He did get Vital previously.
That's true. Can you?
I guess him again.
Does it kind of count if you doubled up on the same play? But
I call it, delayed Ace. Ooh,
okay.
Does go down.
I get at least half a point on that one. That's worth half a point.
I'll give you that.
On a pub quiz, it's half a point on a pub quiz. So
that's how trivia works.
Yep.
And now just a bit of an honest brawl. Double coalescence, love to see it. The Singapore trying to rotate on towards the point thanks to that late kill on Ace. He is back with the team though. Calvin quite low, Vital dead. Singapore do get a cap. Here we go. Blade coming in from Ace. What can he get done with this? Taking a lot of heat for his trouble. Sound barrier from Cup, kind of making it impossible for him to pick up any kills. Instead, it's going to be the overclock running. Now a sound barrier from Apuno as here we go. Both High Vision and Ace pick up. One High Vision picking up far more though in the end. So a lot of cards thrown down onto the table for both teams. Thailand still comfortably winning the fight.
Yeah, double DPS ultimates. If it wasn't going to be Ace, High Vision gets the easy cleanup there as well. Brilliant shots coming through.
Vital is just getting demolished. He's not having a fun game.
Just choosing the wrong character. Yeah, unfortunately, this can happen. You can just lose at the character selection screen. That's what's happened.
That's how I tend to lose.
Well, just choose the right character then.
My bad. Now, final fight territory here for Thailand. Ace already fighting Vital. Huge catch there with the rampage from Calvin. Very quick cleanup, and again, it's going to be nobody touching at the 100% mark here for Singapore. Thailand 2-0, very comfortable.
Yeah, they lost one fight in there, but Thailand still no issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
Not quite a 200-0, but as close as you can get. I mean, the first round in particular was just like a complete wipeout on Sanctum.
Yeah, this was first Ace got one with the blade, and then High Vision went, I can do better, and did. Got three.
Well, the blade got sound barrier, so.
Yeah. Had to get something with the sound barrier running. That was a pretty solid start, and I think exactly what we were expecting to see out of Thailand, including an ace from Ace. How do we feel about that, Domino?
Yeah, no surprises there, except for maybe Vital being on a Widow was probably the surprise there. As Avril has mentioned, look, obviously, definitely heroes. There are better picks for certain maps and certain compositions, and sometimes you just do need to know what those are, and you just need to play into them. So I am, of course, surprised by the Widow picks as well. Like, I can see both teams trying to do this brawl composition where you do have a DPS off the side that's getting the pick, so whether that's the Sojourn or the Hanzo or someone off the off angle, but I just don't think it works there with the Widow.
Not only are there better picks, but in this game it is also possible to have worse picks as well. So you don't just go back to neutral. It doesn't go back to zero if you don't pick the right pick. You can go negative with the wrong. Yeah, you can actually become a liability on the team sometimes.
Which he genuinely was. He was constantly getting dove, constantly getting finished off, because it was such a free kill. If you wanted to get on top of him, just wasn't really able to impact the game. And a little bit of a rough start there for Singapore. Unfortunately, as we know, already mathematically eliminated from contention to qualify. Really, this is all just for glory now to sort of recover a little bit from what was a disastrous first week and not the hottest start to that recovery. We'll have to see if they can maybe turn things around after the break.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the throes of our final series for the evening between Singapore and Thailand. Thailand picking up a comfortable win on Nepal. And, I mean, yeah, as we kind of said, fairly expected result from that map, and no points for guessing what map we're going to next.
But I still maybe expected slightly more out of Singapore. I was like, man, Vital's back in. Maybe they could do a little bit more.
No.
Unfortunately, he ended up being the issue. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. I'm glad that you're an honest
Agreed.
man.
Yeah,
That's how
I was
always
hoping.
am.
I was hoping as well that we'd see a bit more there, but yeah, Thailand just. I feel like they almost weren't contested at times. Ace and High Vision just played so well and got so many comfortable kills, and yeah, I don't have much else to add either.
I mean, ironic for a guy called Vital that there just wasn't a lot of life that he brought to the game. And that does mean it's Singapore's map pick, something they've done a lot of. And I believe they've picked the same map every single time. In fact, it's been our most picked map so far by a significant margin.
Landslide.
It's Circuit Royale.
But I tell
I'm
you
not
what,
surprised by the pick.
this is a map that you can play Widowmaker on.
It is, in fact, that's why.
So,
Correct.
hey,
Why
good
not?
choice, good choice.
We, as you said, not surprised. If they didn't pick Circuit Royale, we would have definitely been surprised, because if they are going to force that Widowmaker, this is the spot to do it. But I know that Thailand is going to have their answer to this. They're going to have their own Widowmaker and their own Sojourn or Hanzo. They're going to be ready for this. So I think Thailand will still have this one in the bag.
Yeah, no slouches in the sniper department here, Thailand. It's just going to be a tough ask all up. Also, going over to the Sigmas is a thing there, and that's where, I mean, once again, I really feel Calvin will kind of just have the number on this one.
I mean, beyond that, we've seen way too much good stuff out of Ace. I mean, one of our cleanest highlights that we have had this entire tournament has been Ace's dominance on the Widowmaker, especially on Circuit, given that's all we really played. Yeah, Ace is happy to take up that battle and show what's up, I think.
Yeah. What is it about? Is it just that everyone really likes playing the snipers? What's up? What is it with Circle Royale?
Because if you can choose to go to Monaco, why wouldn't you?
That's fair.
Why wouldn't
I
you?
do agree, though.
I've never had the choice. Have you had the choice?
You said that you've gone across
No.
Europe, and clearly you've just
Well, I haven't been
skipped
to the
over.
south of France. I've largely avoided France. I've been to
Right.
Paris. I like to
Understandable.
I tend to treat French tourists here the same way that they treat tourists in their country, which is to say I've mugged many Frenchmen.
Okay, that was a comment. Okay.
You can skip it. You can
Yep.
skip France altogether. I feel like you've got something
like
to say.
Dolan had a little bit more
Just
there, but
unsure
just
whether to
hasn't-
commit
just
to it.
didn't go to
Yeah. Well, we'll get your final thoughts, Domino, as we go into Circle Royale.
I honestly got so distracted there. I don't even know what I was going to say. I think it was just agreeing with Avril about Ace and being very comfortable on that Widowmaker. And again, probably seeing a lot of aces scored themselves.
And what a place to do it. In style and glamour on Circuit Royale, Monte Carlo.
That's it. That's the whole city-state.
That
Beyond
honestly
that,
is it. I like that highway you can see in the background that goes over the harbour. What's up, Hercules? How's it going? I was going to say what's poppin', but that's maybe an ominous thing to say to an inflatable. I like that highway you can see in the background that just like snakes out over the harbour and then goes back inland. You're sort of like, what's the point? Where's that going? It's connecting Monaco to the rest of France.
they don't even have their own airport. Imagine
No.
that. Imagine not even having your
They
own.
do have a seaport.
That's because they're by the sea.
They certainly are.
What's the name of the port?
I know it's Hercules.
Port Hercules, yeah.
Port Hercules.
We talked about that last week.
Monegasque.
Calvin's going to play Zarya. Thailand's going to do
sick.
something wild.
All right.
They are ready. They're ready to mingle here. This is different. Now, given this is not something I think they would ever run versus other teams beyond Thailand and Malaysia, but I think it might be okay. Wow.
But Vital
Ace
certainly doing what we want to see out of him.
There you go.
Vision just going to have to sort of dust up along the side, take his time, poking out Ash Kane. We'll probably get a bubble on him as he goes aggressive, not quite able to get
he's
the dash
committed
through.
now.
Yeah, and it forced out
That was
the
a good shot,
utility
Holly.
field. Very nice from Vital. Pop.
I think Thailand has to play real comp now. I think Thailand, okay, you messed around enough. Time to go Sigma, guys. Time to play an actual comp. Here we go.
Yeah.
Now the changes are happening. They understand. There we go.
Yeah.
Good one, fellas.
Didn't
Good one.
work out. Didn't get the early dive off the Genji. Would have been real flashy, but didn't have anyone low enough. Wasn't able to get the dash kill and get the resets. And as soon as that immortality came down, the immortality field rather came out from Cup, he was a sitting duck. As opposed to a swimming duck.
Maybe in France this is acceptable. You're across the border now. Now you're south. You're Nordic coast. A little different, fellas. No shenanigans in the Principality. There we go. High Vision on board.
Ooh, early catch. Very nice. Opens the door for Thailand. Slowly around the corner they go. Paper.
Paper's
just
in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere.
It's so far out.
Getting torn to bits there. As Pally, they even let him pick up the kill, supportal combat style. Now it's Cup taking a little bit of a pummeling here. Ash Kane eats a rock, getting topped off bit by bit, but still in trouble with Vital down. Pally does get picked up. Solo Flux, why not? Make the statement, Calvin. Why don't you ace meanwhile just popping off, flicking heads?
Wasn't even necessary, but they'll just do it anyway.
The Dark. All hail Hercules the Dark.
This is going to be a solo push for a while. So Vital could just back spawn.
This is.
Oh no, I think he's committed. Wait, never mind. It's gone.
What a what a duel!
Oh,
That's a real time waster for Singapore. Luckily,
sorry. The spawn is to the side. Actually, it's not there. It's a little bit further back.
luckily able to find Calvin in the trade, but losing Vips, and now Ash Kane likely to go down here as well. Actually, they don't commit to finishing him off. There we go. Finally goes down, and they're still with Cut pushing forward. So just a utterly disconnected Singapore right now.
Should be another dead player. It is.
He was marked by the dragon.
Payload has arrived after mostly solo pushing.
Yep. Ace does go down, so Vip's collecting an exit kill there, but unless he really wants to
You need Ash Kane. You need Ash Kane. He's not there.
Long since dead, only just getting back with the team now, and already low Vips going down to Pally, actually, who collects the headshot, and I mean, Singapore are barely present right now on this defense.
Seems to be. Yeah, Thailand, they screwed around a little bit at the start, but now they've gone serious mode.
They heard
It is
Soldier
business.
76 saying,
It is
quit
business
scoring around and get on the
as
point.
usual. Nino is what Soldier 76 said.
He certainly does.
To the girl?
No, Nina is little girl, Nino
see.
is little boy.
Right. That's what you are.
Yeah, sure. I mean, compared to you, yes.
Okay.
That's
Fair
not
enough.
saying. I mean, you are just a physically larger guy than most. Dragon Strike committed from High Vision. Ash Kane gonna go ahead and pop a flux.
Where's Vital going? Where's he going?
To the cart directly. To the grave directly. Ash Kane eating some damage, up dead before he hits the ground there. I really like it when we're seeing High Vision about to shoot someone, and as soon as he fires the shot, the person already drops dead because Ace just killed them. Transcendence over the point here from Paper. A lot of dead members on the side of Singapore.
That's one way to contest
Already
at
down.
least.
Yep, technically does get the contested. There's no focus here. It's a contest with no win condition, with no sense of stalling to get the team back in the mix.
Well, it does stall. It does stall to get the team back in the
Yeah,
mix,
technically, yeah, but
at the
it's-
cost of your own life.
At the cost of your own life, out of the
Correct.
whole ultimate, and it's not like the rest of the team. It feels like they're not even talking to each other. Bit
Maybe.
of a shocking defense, I would
Maybe.
say, from Singapore. A bit
That's
of a
one-
lacking
that's-
defense. There was very little of it.
It was
We'll have to
both.
see how their
It was
attacking
both
half goes.
shocking and lacking. But I'll tell you one,
Schlacking.
it didn't lack any shock factor though. That it
No
did not
lack
lack.
of the shock factor, yeah.
Had a maximal shock.
Whenever you
lacking
meet someone
most
called,
of the things.
whenever you meet something called Max, you always hope that it's short for Maximilian, but it never is.
We both know someone called Max, and
Yeah.
I don't know what it's short for.
Maxwell.
Ah,
Yeah, that's the standard
disappointing.
one.
Disappointing.
Sometimes you get a Maxim if they're from Eastern Europe. These days, and I really despise this, these days I keep meeting people who are just called Max. It's not even short for something. And I'm like, is that short for Maximilian or Maxwell? And they go, no, it's just Max.
It's just Max.
Ugh, disgusting. I think the best name that was ever invented is Elizabeth, because that name can be anything. That is the most versatile name. Like, I've got 3 family members all technically called Elizabeth, and they go by Liz, Betty, and Beth. And you're like, those are 3 completely different names. But they're not. That's the same name. Impressive stuff.
Got a lot of mileage on that name.
Really do.
Let's see if Pally can get any mileage today on the Life Weaver. This will be some of our... The second time we've actually had Life Weaver being played. First was very short. I think it was Burlog that played it?
I don't actually think I think it was in spawn for a brief second and changed off before it actually saw action. Of course...
oh, no, sorry.
Representing South Station.
I've confused this with Contenders
Ace,
Australia.
though.
Ace is about to get another kill. Yeah, we're not going to mention this.
And now for another one. Come on, Ash Kane.
They will try and give it to him.
There we go.
And they will give it to him.
Collected. Vips already.
So there we go. I did say he was going to get an ace, and he got a pseudo one in the first map. Now he'll definitely get one this map.
Beautiful stuff. Getting pulled to safety by Pally with the life grip.
So our first real Life Weaver gameplay then. As Thailand do a little bit of trolling, but they're at least playing 4 out of the 5 correct characters instead of last time, which was minimal.
The character is from Thailand, isn't he?
That's actually true. They're going to play the Thai character.
Really repping. It's a shame that Team Australia have not played Junkrat for that reason.
But they have played Junker Queen. Wait, no, they haven't actually.
They haven't. That's
played that either.
Or
That's
Roadhog.
true.
They haven't touched any of the hometown heroes.
Haven't done that either.
I think Roadhog is technically a Kiwi. It's technically
It's
from New Zealand.
unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed.
He's from dubious location in Oceania.
Man of dubious origin. Woo! Nice catch onto paper. Ace continuing to click heads. Calvin does go down. But even then, Singapore not really in a position to benefit much from that opportunity. Nice
good
life
pull.
grip to pull Ace to safety. Was otherwise about to start feeling the heat from Ash Kane.
Legit nice gameplay from Life Weaver. Wow.
Unbelievable. And here we go, looking to get aggressive now.
The tree's down.
Let's go! The healing tree!
Which is not healing anybody.
On the card with no members nearby. Ash Kane low, does find Pally though, with that flux. Trading back now. Vital and Vips both down as Calvin re-enters. Has a flux of his own. Major solo flux. Ash Kane again. The flux flex, I like to call it. Just backing away. Letting it go.
135 left of this. Thailand. You can read into that how you like.
It's not, I mean, it's
You
not,
can read into that how you like.
At least it's
Here come the...
cut down.
I think the flux should be coming through this fight shortly.
Ace.
They're not going to get him. I think, you know, it's funny. It's like Pally's saving the life grips just for Ace, not even for other players.
Ash Kane is super low, totally out in the cold here. Nobody able to quite finish him off as the healer's at his back. Vips low, but once again, Singapore have had to back way out of the play. Vips still waiting to get topped off. Of course, they lost Cup.
No one can hide from my
Only just back now and in for sight running. Vips are way away from the ultimate still.
Maximal respect for the Infraside. No one even really wants to peek that, at least without a shield.
Max, a million respect. Oh, Ace. Oh,
Just,
no luck
just
from that
Max,
time.
just the 3-letter word,
Just Max.
one syllable,
Ace,
that's it.
3 letters. Cup. And there we go, Vips. That's another one. It's more than 3 letters, but he's down. And I mean, Thailand just look cruisy on this defense. Paper now going down, just clicking some heads. It's like when it gets down to just Ash Kane, they're like, all right, guys, who wants it?
We slow that one down a little bit,
Who
stagger
wants
it
the last
through.
slice of pizza?
20 seconds. Have to go. Still waiting for Ash Kane to respawn here. And I think Calvin fluxes them off the point and no one touches because of that.
It probably is what is going to happen. Only 8 seconds left, and that is if they don't all just get their heads clicked on the way to the cart. Vips is going to go ahead and dive for it. Is in position. Ooh, Ace.
Pull.
Doesn't
Come
get
on,
pulled to
Pally.
safety that time.
Pally sleeping.
What's happening? Where's the tree? Vips does go down though. Did go in for that ultimate, so Dragon Blade cancelled. High Vision just hanging out around the side. Still holding there. We've already committed the flux. The tree is out. Didn't save High Vision. Paper down. Ash Kane low. Cut. The wall, the window rather, is out. Certainly not a wall. Ash Kane still just keeping presence on the cart. Vital now down behind him. Not many members here left. Does finally go down, and that's going to be the last iota of resistance on the cart. See you later, Hercules.
Thailand expectedly win. And what was their attacking time again? It was quick enough.
It was like
340.
340, yeah.
Something gross.
Sounds about right.
Let's take a look at the 5K again.
Yeah!
We missed the first 2 kills.
One.
And this is how he got him.
2.
It'd be funny if the game didn't give you all 5.
3. There we go. Then he gets paper.
And
4.
the game,
Yeah.
And the game didn't give you all 5. That's what I said, because the last one, it unfortunately came through too slow.
Yeah, it took a little bit of a time there, but yeah, absolutely unsurprising result there. Yeah, Domino, do you have any thoughts? Because I don't.
Not a huge amount. I feel like Thailand just proved they have a very strong Widowmaker player. Actually, they've got a very strong DPS lineup. Both the Widowmaker, High Vision and Ace, both really good. And then I kind of loved that they played a Lifeweaver, which obviously we don't often expect. So that was kind of a nice sort of to see that there. But then I loved that Ace knew they had Lifeweaver like kind of in their back pocket. So Ace could play really aggressively, play some angles you maybe wouldn't, but that's fine because Lifeweaver is just going to pull you back if it gets, if you get into a dangerous situation. So I kind of love that they had that going on. I wonder how the communication was there. Like it must have been quite good. Ace knew when they could go forward. So I really love that they did that on that final map there.
And I mean,
just having fun.
Yeah, why not? All right. And I have to say, towards the end of this, it started to feel like just kind of punching the clock for Thailand. This felt very by the numbers.
I was certainly looking at the clock.
It was very, I don't know, it felt very routine. It felt like, when you do your dream job for long enough and it just becomes your job.
Why, your dream's just dead and now it's
you're like, when you do it for long enough, it starts to lose its luster, it starts to lose its charm. Thailand were just sort of like, oh, I guess. No, that is actually a genuinely, a solid win, and Thailand should be very pleased with themselves. And let's go ahead and actually catch up with the Thai player. Let's go ahead and say hello once again to Apudo. Another win in the pocket. You guys are still in contention to qualify out of this group. How are you guys feeling?
Feeling great. Yeah, very confident right now.
How are you guys preparing for this week differently to last week? Because you had a good start in week number 1, but then you had the loss versus who did you lose to?
What do you mean?
Why am I blanking
Lost to
out?
Australia.
Thailand. Yeah, so you guys have still a pretty tough opponent in India left. So what sort of changes are we going up into week number 2?
Just listen to Titawat.
Listen to Tina Watt.
Yeah, he tried to fix everything for us and it worked. Yeah, I think the most effective thing that changed is communication.
Yeah, I actually have a question about your communication because we were talking just then about how you guys had a Lifeweaver and an Ace being played. Like, I know you didn't play either of those characters, but is there a lot of communication going on there so that Ace knows when Lifeweaver is going to be able to grip them back and support them and stuff so that, your 2 DPS are very well supported by your support backline, by you and the Lifeweaver there? I'm guessing there's a lot of communication going on for you guys there?
Or we just let our DPS play. And support just think about how to support. Like we didn't talk anything. We just see if he wants to do something, we just look at them and support them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just
amazing.
Feel it purely off instinct. And as Kevin rightly pointed out, still a solid, tough customer opponent in India who played against Australia earlier today. Now, they actually suffered a worse loss against Australia than what you guys did. You still took that one map off Australia. So how do you feel in that head-to-head against India? Do they feel beatable? Do you think Thailand is going to be one of the 2 teams qualifying out of this group?
For me, I feel like Thailand can be one of the 2 teams of the group, but it depends on us as well. Sometimes our communication is not good. We can lose them on that situation. Yeah, I hope tomorrow everything is not.
Everything goes smooth.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you do end up having a nice showing in the rest of your matches. Thanks very much, Apudo. Good to catch up with you again. And if I'm not mistaken, that leaves us just about wrapped up for the day. Congratulations on the win, Apudo. We'll catch up with you again next time you get a win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And a really, I guess, solid kind of day overall. Fairly expected results. That first one, Australia versus India, was probably the closest in terms of overall contention, but Australia comfortably picking up that win means they are officially topping the leaderboard. Thailand only one game remaining, and that will be against India. That's going to be a really critical one. That's the one that keeps the dream alive, qualifying out of this group for Thailand. And you can see running further down the leaderboard, New Zealand keeping their hopes just barely alive to maybe still sneak into one of those top 2 spots. Malaysia and Singapore now both mathematically eliminated.
And you also see, by the way, that due to the loss that Singapore suffers to Thailand, now New Zealand needs